Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Gotta go. Smith, 2 seconds left. Smith for the win. No! Statement made. Michigan avenges their worst loss of the season. Rea again. His second step-back three in the last couple of minutes. The backcourt. 10 on the shot clock. Rea. No look, Rondo away. And all of a sudden, it's Caps by 8. Gave up his dribble, shot clock at 5. Saunders, Bošković heading to the basket and lays it in, and he's fouled. A massive foul by Harris. Wow. Coming up the floor, Yesufu heading to the basket, has the ball blocked away. Into the hands of Cougars. Here comes Stewart, and he'll just run it out. Wow. BYU with a huge road win in the Big 12.
Tough pass and great anticipation by Samson Johnson. Ball in opening, and he knocks it down. McNeely now has 26 points in his last 2 halves of basketball. Yo! Are you kidding me?
Good morning. Welcome in. Hurrdat Sports Radio, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla. We made it. We're alive. We're here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. What's up, DB?
Looks like we made it.
Ooh, who's that?
That is one.
Is that also Rod
I
Stewart?
assume his government is Barry.
Barry Manilow?
Is there anything? Is Barry short for anything?
Bertrand?
I assume it's Barry Manilow. He probably was born, I don't know, Hank Smith, but I think Barry Manilow sounded better.
What is Barry Manilow's real name?
See, I know you make fun of me.
And, this is terrible. This is bad.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, holler.
So Barry is his real name.
Yeah.
Barry Allen Pincus.
That's pretty pink. Yeah, that's about right.
Barry Allen Pincus.
Pincus.
That's a terrible last name.
Is Pincus better?
No offense to all of any Pincuses out there that might be listening.
The closest I knew to a Pincus was a really good softball player.
Who's that?
Her name was Kelly Pinky Pank.
That's a name. Pinky Pank?
Yeah, Kelly Pinky Pank.
There you go.
She's an itty bitty little thing. She could field it. Pretty slick. Yeah, she played softball at Nebraska when I was there.
We had a Gary Pinkel.
Sure.
That's in the neighborhood.
We had a pink. Yep, that was. And we have just a regular Pink.
Well, yeah, the artist. I don't think that's her government, though.
Do you think it's part of her name?
I don't think that's her Christian, no.
I like Pink.
Like the color or the artist?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Yeah? Is that a girl dad thing, or do you just like pink?
No, I just like pink.
Always?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to wear a suit every day for from a long time. 14 years maybe.
When you had a real job?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I had 3 or 4 different shades of pink. I had pink button down. I had pink French collar. I had pink short collar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big pink guy.
I like the pink dress shirt with the suit. I'll rock that quite a bit.
And I like pink. I think she's pretty legit.
Yeah, I'm not, the songs I could take or leave some of them. Some of them are pretty good.
I kind of like pink because, well, you can fill in the blanks because what do I typically gravitate towards? I like kind of the underdog, overcome kind of thing.
Yeah, I got that.
You know, she battled emotional stuff. She battled weight issues.
I feel you.
You know, body shame. I like pink. Not necessarily in love with all the music, but I like some of the songs.
Pink and Barry Manilow. That's what you come here for.
So what's his name? Pincus?
Yeah, Barry Allen Pincus.
Pincus.
Which isn't Barry Allen? Isn't that the Flash?
Yeah.
So
that is the Flash.
The Flash Pincus.
Yeah. But not the Flash that keeps getting in trouble, right? Different Flash shade.
Well, I think his character name's still the same, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that guy's name is, but he needs to stop getting arrested.
Yeah, that dude's kind of finding his way.
It seems like fame has not done well for him.
No. Well, some people can't handle it.
Not everybody can handle it.
He does some different stuff, yes.
Thanks, Shay. Good morning.
Good morning.
How was your 40-minute drive in? Pretty sensational?
Yeah, it was
spectacular, if you will?
Yeah, it was great.
Nice. Good on
Man, see, we got haters in the chat already.
Already?
Yeah.
Listen, man, our chat is
Steve. Come on, Steve.
Our chat is lit. Hey, there's my man, Mr. Nelson. That's gonna be my new buddy. I can't wait to meet him.
Rashawn?
Yeah.
Do you actually know each other or no?
Well, I know of him because of his son.
Who's his son?
Oh, he's got the last name Nelson. He plays at Nebraska.
Okay.
Oh, and Mike Nelson.
Garrett?
Running back.
Garrett?
Sure.
I mean, they look like they might be related.
See? Like, we're only 12 days in, 7 minutes into the show. Can we just enjoy the month?
What month is that? February?
Wow. I can't stand you.
Oh.
Whew. All right.
Wait, is everybody nicknamed Buddha, Rashawn? How many Buddhas we got on the team?
I have a Buddha, and this little dude, I mean, tore out of the house.
Wait, so
Take the U-turn at the very end of the deck. His little fat butt almost slid down the stairs, and it's a good sized deck, but it's not for those little barrel legs. I felt bad. My
just
dude,
U-turn.
hey, listen, my dude rolled to the side. His little Buddha slid.
Like Tokyo Drift style.
I don't know where he thought he was going.
Dude, my Doug
And Biggie was having none of it.
Doug has never peed so fast in his life.
Hey, this idiot Biggie. So the 4 or 5 days we went through the super cold stretch where it was like negatives and only getting up to like today like 6.
Yeah.
This dude peed on the wood outside. I've never seen it. He would stop just short of the steps and pee. I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh yeah, when it's really bad out, especially when there's snow, because I feel like they can't tell the difference. My dogs will tinkle on the deck stairs every now and then.
Nah, man. They gotta go on somewhere with that.
Boys, what are we doing here?
Yeah, get your rear end to the grass.
What are we doing here?
I'm telling you, man. I'm like, he's a little chunk ball, right?
Yeah,
he's a little muscle head, and he just was looking because he eats way faster than Biggie.
Yeah.
So, and he can open and close the screen door.
Yeah.
But for whatever the reason, he chilled because
I
left it open. I'm like, hey, if you want to go, you can go by yourself. And he waited. They breathe like their last gasp. Creed.
It's going less breath.
Yeah. My man barreled out and barely. I thought he was gonna slide his little bunda down the stairs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd have been terrified.
Man, so my idiot dogs, like I love them to death, but it'll get slick out, so I'll take them out through the bottom so they don't have to deal with the deck stairs.
Yeah.
And then they're dumb.
Thank the Lord, it's not very slick.
Yeah, it's not terrible. The roads aren't great, so be careful out there.
I know, and hey, shout out our street crew must have been chomping at the bit because they're busy early.
Oh yeah, ours was nowhere to be seen yet. So.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So shout out everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, they usually more apt to be in your neighborhood than on. Well, never mind.
I mean,
we may have a different sector that does our stuff because I'm a little south.
You might be in a different region.
How about our parking lot? I told you, whoever these guys
they're on it.
They don't play.
They're on it. Yeah.
Every time they lock it up.
No, I was going to make a joke about it. Must not be snowing in St. Louis yet because I hadn't seen any road crews out there. But no, we're not doing that. My bad.
No.
Well, further south, I thought maybe
knock it off.
Oh, my bad. Rashawn says, looked exactly like a butterball when he was born. That's why he calls him Buddha.
Okay, that's going to stick.
I might call him Butterball now.
Listen, I'm going to have to go holler at him. He's going to look at me sideways like, man. Oh, that is classic.
But yeah, my dummy dogs, I'll let them out through the bottom so they don't have to deal with the deck stairs, and then they run up the back of the deck stairs anyway.
He certainly doesn't run like that. They
must have leaned him out.
Man. He's one of the few with some shake.
Got a little wiggle?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true. Got a lot of straight ahead runners,
Yeah. Well, EJ.
He just got a little.
EJ works at it.
Yeah, he's more of a cutter than like a juke guy, though. I would say.
EJ's his TikTok social media game has taken off.
Yeah.
Yeah. EJ enjoys life.
Yeah. I do see his TikToks come across my algorithm every once in a while.
I mean, they rolled in the West Side like what?
Listen, big man on campus.
Yeah. And they did the halftime interview with Dylan. He's like, yeah, I don't know if he was. I mean, I don't know if Dylan knows that like he's the man. But I think because he felt like he was at Westside, he was like, "Yeah, I just hung up with Caleb Benning, man. I told him he needs to be here, but he said he's seen that gym enough." I was like, "Dang, this throwing dude under the bus."
That's kind of funny though. It's a little funny.
But EJ, he was living his best life. The student. So I think Burke Brown was the one that was the catalyst for getting him there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Burke's going to be good. Christopherson.
Mm-hmm.
I told him he's by far the
toughest Brown in the family.
Most athletic Brown in the family.
Yeah, probably. Because he's a good baseball player, too.
That was just a kicker joke.
I got him to quit wanting to play offense.
Yeah?
Yeah.
There you go.
He's like, I like this defense.
Why don't you come on over here?
He's cool, too, because he'll tell you what he doesn't know.
Yeah?
He's like, hey, so when you say 2 to the tip, I'm like, Burke, I've been saying that for 8 weeks. Well,
I need you to ask a little sooner.
yeah. What are we doing? Because I wasn't playing as much then.
Could tune it right out. Didn't need it.
And he's so honest. That's why I love him. I'm like, I gave him a hug. I said, bless your heart. No, but like the street crews, Shane, you saw it too. They were going down the wrong way. Were you scared?
No, because I happened to be going down the right way, but I was like driving right by them.
So they're going down the wrong way on the other side of you?
Yeah.
So we must have got everybody
It's
back that
interesting.
went
I hadn't
south
seen
to
that
bail
before.
them out.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, still, you know.
Because I know there are a lot of crews that took their snow because they haven't had any business.
Yeah, there hasn't. What'd you say, Shano? Like almost a full year since we've had an inch of snow?
Well, according to KETV, and I just looked it up, I'll give them credit because they said it was.
I like when you say things that aren't originally yours and you give other people credit because we got a couple of these knuckleheads in the media that just will regurgitate and can barely read doing it.
Well, the article was 5 days ago, and we hit the record 335 days. So is it 339, 340 days, something like that, since we've had an inch of snow? I assume there's an inch of snow out there.
Been a long time since you've seen an inch, huh?
I think so.
367 days?
No, just 340, he said. Just 340.
Yeah,
Just 340.
Yeah,
I think so. I think they're.
I'm still tripping off of Buddha. That's going to be funny.
That's funny. I like that. No, Steve was hating earlier. He goes, can't lie.
Which Steve?
Crooks.
Oh, no, he's funny.
Throw him in the prison, Crooks. Get out of here.
Oh, you're out on Steve already?
Well, no, he was hating on Creighton, so
So there was a lot of piling on. But you know who should not have been piling on?
Who?
I was not happy. And listen, I know everybody has a good memory and they like to call me on stuff, so I'm going to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
We had a knockdown drag out for 3 days on Hurley and him cussing and was it the right thing to do? And
sure, yeah.
So since remember that? And I was kind of
you're kind of getting after me a little bit.
No, I was kind of rallying for. I'm like, we don't know that dude. Remember his wife?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Boxers on the road. And,
yeah, you were getting after me for being a hater on Hurley.
yeah, I was like, it seemed no, don't move those goalposts.
Okay.
I was a little put off.
Okay.
By the fact we were labeling him as a person based on his coaching antics.
Yeah, no, that dude sucks. That dude sucks. I feel fully confident that dude sucks.
So there's 2 things that I was like, oh, don't do that. Don't do that. See, I don't.
Was it the 2 rings or what was it?
So the 2 I have never, ever, and listen, fairly well traveled.
Yeah.
Never seen a coach with that kind of prowess for the second time. So this wasn't an accident.
Be that petty with fans?
No.
Okay.
Go there with his own personal accolades real time.
That's twice now.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yep.
So he went to the I'm the best coach in the world.
And then
and then the 2 rings. So I was like, I can't ride with you for that.
Real quick before we move off of that. This is part of the reason I don't like him.
But
no, hold on real quick because
my bad.
Because I'll let you go.
Sorry.
But real quick. So after the I'm the best coach, he gives this whole, I don't really know why I did that.
I know.
That's
he said, I don't. Is that what I said? Did I say that?
I don't even really. That's not really me. I don't know why I did that. And then he pulls that same ish like 2 weeks later. Like
ish.
This is who he is.
It's a good day when we drop ish.
And then he comes. That's my problem. Is he's full of it. Like he's just full of it.
That wasn't the thing that first set me off, though.
What was it?
And I think if you do it, you have to own it. I even joke with Ashworth about going there all the time, kind of low-key running it like Eddie Haskell.
Mm-hmm.
He he hit him with the sleep motion twice. It's the first thing he did.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking to Nealon. He did the 2 hands. He did it again, and I was like, don't get after the young man.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. He's married with a kiddo.
He's still 23, by the way.
But leave the players out of it.
Younger than Hunter Dickinson, I'm pretty sure. But
You know what I mean? Even his brother, when he took his guys off the court, didn't call the guys out by – he's like, hey, there were some things that were going on in front of our bench. It was the same handful of guys. Like, he kept it pushing.
Yeah.
The sleep thing, I was like, don't do that either.
Yeah.
Everything else I'm probably okay with because the fans gave it to him.
Yeah.
I mean, gave it to him on the constant.
I'm going to do a we here. We hate that guy.
As you're rocking the sweet Nebraska.
I know, this one's great. This was courtesy of old DB.
That joker is nice.
Yeah, I like this one a lot.
Do you know what's funny?
What's that?
It took me probably no minimum of 20 wardrobe changes and 3 years. This dead dog's
Okay.
to learn to wear things with a stripe down my arm.
Really?
I'm very selective.
What's the holdup? Like, what's your mental
I don't like
hurdle?
the way because I already have a very short torso.
Okay.
So some things make me look very
It's like makes you look squattier.
frumpy.
Okay. I got you. No, I get that.
So just the one line, I was like, God, I don't really want to give this up. It has never been worn. But I don't like the way it looks.
It's true. It had the tags on it when you gave it to me.
I think all the like
it always
you get it for
you've never given me hand-me-downs.
Nah, man. I don't rock like that. So like I felt like some of that stuff he was doing okay, but the that's where I draw the line.
Yeah, he's glazing himself.
He's sick.
He is.
like
Jay.
Like when you wake up sometimes you're like, ooh, what kind of donut is that?
Yeah.
You fell asleep.
Yeah. Let me stop. Yeah, he's a self-glazer. All right. We might start.
So Shane.
We might. He's just lonely.
My bad.
No.
It's not even my day.
Nah.
Man, that was fine.
Everybody loves a good donut in the morning.
I like being 3-0.
No, he is.
I talked to him last night for a while.
He's a J. He's a glazer.
Man.
You know.
That game was. I don't even know what to think. I went from.
Oh, I know what to think. I'm upset about it.
And I think you guys know how I feel, and I feel bad. Like, isn't DeMarinis like working?
Yeah.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, he's on it.
Because I'm just telling you, like guys that are like that pay that close attention to detail and action and ball movement and are really they don't
talk to people during games.
No. You ever sat with Jacob?
Yeah.
No, he's the worst.
Silent.
You could be this is me and you.
Yeah.
I could be sitting right next to
He
Jacob.
won't say a word to you.
He not one.
No, I go to games with Jacob. I used to when I had tickets, I would go to games with Jacob all the time.
And it's like
like during media timeouts and stuff, we would
sometimes I
talk.
feel kind of needy. I'm like,
Hey, hello.
or I'll say this. He knows I've done this to him. Hey, it's a timeout. Are you good? Can I go now?
No, my man is still right.
Yeah, I'll talk to him during like media timeouts and stuff like that, but it needs to be more than a 30.
How many spiral notebooks do you think young Jacob has?
Do you think he keeps them?
Yes.
He does?
Yes.
It's got to be hundreds.
He is Larry Cobb's 2.0.
It's got to be hundreds. Well, it's like
coincidence. No coincidence. That's the diehard Jays guy that
it's
first
like
had me not liking Creighton. When
Tim
I was
Kirkjian.
5.
You know, Tim, like he's got this story about keeping box scores. Like that's
I think he does.
I bet he keeps them. I would guess. But no, DeMarinis is good. I'll sit up in the hockey press box with him during games, and he'll challenge me the whole time.
By the way, is no longer the hit place or the quiet place to be.
I know. It's because nobody. I mean, I'm not trying to hate on Rob. We love those guys, Rob and Glenn over there.
Yeah, it's tough. He started that,
but none of the media like the new spot. Like none of the media like the spot in the corner. So a lot of them have started going upstairs.
And I think Rob sat on this for probably 4 or 5 years because I remember I used to always want to be credentialed, and when it started getting real snug,
yeah,
he's like, "Look, man." He didn't say this out loud, but I'm gonna need you to utilize that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're outro.
Yeah,
I was like, But there's so many. They always pan the can. There's so many popular people down there. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. If he's got you, like back in the day, if he had you on the court, you better go. But now, I've got one, but I go up hockey press box. It's not a big deal. Nobody sees you up there in terms of the camera. So it's not, doesn't look bad to pan over. There. But no, I'll talk to DeMaris during games, and he'll sometimes be like, hey, hold on. Like he'll give me the one finger.
When I'm watching that game, and he was actually pretty chill
for most part. There was one part I thought he might get teed up. Also, can I just real quick on Hurley here? Like, I don't understand that dude because his team fouls almost more than anyone else in the country. That is how they play.
My guy Mike was every 5, and I was right there. He's like, stop fouling.
That is how
when they had 7 fouls at the
12 minutes left. Mark. Yeah, or for 14 minutes left, whatever it was. Like that's how he coaches that team to play. Yeah. It always has been. And then he continuously bitches about the foul calls. It's like this is what you are. And then it's actually
they did let him play though.
It's kind of funny because
I know the whistle.
It speaks to the self-awareness a little bit because when he goes the 2 rings, I don't know if you heard this part. He calls some guy in the stands baldy.
Yeah.
Has he not seen a mirror?
So that's the part I think is a bit.
Maybe.
I think that's a bit.
I don't know. I think he's a D-bag. I will say though.
Excuse me.
I will say, this is the first time I know that he's beaten Coach Mack before. This is the first time I thought he got the better of him.
And the coaching matchup?
Yeah.
So you're mad about the early minutes from Miller and Davis?
No, what I'm mad at.
What do you mean? Like not demanding that the ball go to Kalk?
Yeah. So when you the game presented.
It's almost like I know you.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing you said is 2, and the second thing you said is 1. So we'll get to both. But that was
he is.
I am mad. I thought it was a poor performance by Creighton last night. That was the first time that I can remember that Creighton was handed a clear advantage in this matchup. And that was both of UConn's bigs being in foul trouble.
Okay, let me ask you something first.
And Mac didn't take advantage of the
I
way
just want
he
to
needed
tee
to.
this up.
Yeah.
Does any of it have to do with the fact you saw Creighton turn the corner and get to the 10 so easily early on?
100%. That's a big part of it.
Okay.
The other part,
because I was floored.
The other part of it, though,
I thought they were very slow.
Now, I thought UConn got a little better.
Where they wanted to hedge and cut guys off.
But I also thought Creighton got lazy.
It was poor.
I thought Creighton got lazy.
The guys were just turning the corner, getting downhill.
I mean, Jason Green just went, to the rim.
How about how Ashworth just gets to the 10 going left?
Yeah.
I'm like
things that are not guys' strong suits, they were getting against UConn. So you have that, and they seem like they stopped doing that. And then I've seen all year when a team is undersized, Creighton just abused them with Kalkbrenner.
Yeah.
All year. Abused them. And they just were chucking up threes. They weren't getting entry passes in.
The shot selection.
The shot selection was terrible. And I'm going to get to my guy Fedor here in a minute. You brought up the Davis and Miller minutes. We're going to get to my guy Fedor here in a minute because that's the other thing I had an issue with.
When's the last time you've seen a game like that with 2 pretty good teams? Because I actually think UConn has potential to be better than we talk about.
I agree. Their year, especially with McNeely, they're better than their record right now.
Then you saw so many bad misses.
Horrifying.
I mean bad misses air balls hit the glass.
Did Alex Caravan become part of Space Jam or something? They stole his talent?
I told you,
dear God.
Talked about it last week. The missed free throws changed his life.
Horrifying. That's CB. I'm Ravi Lulla. More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up.
be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage, and it is a little dicey out there this morning, so I'm asking you, if you have to go out, please make sure you keep those eyes focused and straight ahead. Stay focused on the roads. It's a little dicey. Reduce those speeds. Make sure you've got big following distances so you're not riding too close to people. Some of the major roadways either have been cleaned or it's blown over again. Make sure you are locked in, eyes focused straight ahead. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
I have a feeling our drive home will be much worse than the drive in.
I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm looking out there and be like, ooh, that's a decent amount of dusting on my car already.
Your boy didn't even have anybody to call him to pick him up.
Yeah.
Good morning again.
Because I would.
Hey, can I have a ride?
Listen.
I know.
I know where I'm weak. Okay.
That's true. I like self-awareness.
Yeah.
Something that Danny Hurley doesn't have.
Yeah. Wow.
But, I do appreciate. See, Travis is showing a little self-awareness this morning, which I appreciate.
Which one? S?
Yes.
Okay.
He goes, on one hand, I'm always glad to see Creighton lose. On the other hand, I cannot stand Hurley, so that annoys me that he won. Kobe, very similarly, F Hurley, but love seeing Creighton lose. I appreciate just being aware at least.
Yeah.
Because if you hate Creighton so much that you're rooting for Dan Hurley, I need you to reevaluate some things in your life. You've clearly gone off the straight and narrow path. You need to find the Lord, okay?
Ooh, Jesus.
We'll sing some spirituals for you. You know.
Well, you don't know most of my hymns. Every time I break into them, you're like, I don't know that one.
We grew up in different kinds of churches, DB. I don't know if you know this. Not a lot of the same kind of music gets sung at like 144th and Pacific
as 20th and Lake.
Yeah, it's a little different.
The Otis
It's a song.
Do you know what AME stands for? St. John AME.
I bet Episcopal's in there somewhere.
Episcopalian. You know the A.
American. African?
Yes.
Okay. Oh,
yes.
okay. You know. My second favorite continent.
Stop. Get out.
It's Black History Month. It's my first favorite. It's my first favorite. For 16 more days. Number one.
Oh.
Although technically I'm from Asia. That's also an A continent, so that gets a little dicey, but that's okay. I can give it up for a month for you guys. I got you. So what's the M?
Methodist.
So you're Methodist and Episcopalian?
African Methodist Episcopalian.
I thought Methodist and Episcopalian were two different things.
I'm not good at that stuff.
Okay, that's fair. I was just curious because generally those are like separate. On the other half of town, Methodist and Episcopalian are different congregations. I appreciate you guys united though. It's like, hey, we're stronger together.
Oh, there were a couple of
like Josh Stotzler, better together. We got you.
There were a couple of references at Calvin's funeral that the pastor, it was a Baptist church.
Yeah.
It was about the only time during that time that I actually almost laughed.
Yeah.
It was funny. It was funny. But I was in the front row, so I was like, inappropriate. Inappropriate.
Not the type to laugh at a funeral?
I'm very bad at those.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
like just locking in or what?
I'm uncomfortable.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah.
And so I think at 50, and that's the fourth time you've been a pallbearer.
Yeah.
It's tough.
That's too many.
Yeah. So yeah, that's not like I'm not a go look and view guy.
Oh no.
I'm not that.
No, I don't like. We can keep that thing closed for my purposes.
So I was very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I gotcha. That makes sense.
My man VJ just kept patting my knee. He's like, "You need my water?" No, I'm good. I'm not gonna pass out. I just don't want to be here.
There's a difference.
Yeah,
that ain't wet.
It's my dude.
I'm not nauseous. I just want to go home.
Man,
but no, I do. Aside from the Hurley hate, which is well deserved and well earned, because that guy sucks. But I did think that
Evan.
What did Evan say?
It's not the conversation I expected this morning. You just never know. I mean, you give us long enough. Probably gonna go some places.
No, Kobe, I didn't think you were cheering for Creighton. I just appreciate that you hate Hurley enough to understand that like you're not totally happy about the situation.
Yeah,
I'm not under any.
It is very hard because, that's as long a time as I could sing that UConn team. They weren't very. I don't think they're very good defensively.
No, we texted about that right during the game. I go, they're not really scary defensively.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you meant in general, because I thought you were talking about that lineup on the floor.
No, I mean like
okay.
as a UConn
and I was
team,
like, well, Ball will defend. I don't know what the rest of these guys.
No, as a team,
yeah.
Like most of what I'm used to as a Hurley UConn team is kind of this suffocating ball pressure, can't do anything, can't get into your offensive sets.
Let me ask you something about their offense last night.
Creighton's or UConn's?
At what point, like if you're Mac and that staff, are you thinking, okay, this is the way we play versus, man, this is what we better do? So
here's my problem.
Do you understand the question?
I do 100%.
Because they did let that thing fly. But shoot, man.
Here's my problem.
Only had the 9 field goal attempts.
Here's my problem. And I'm glad you asked that because it's a fair question. But I've seen them against undersized teams just feed Calk and abuse their undersized lineups. Abuse them. This year, that has happened multiple times. Basically, anytime Calk goes for 30, that's what happened, is there was an undersized team, and they just hammered them inside. There was a point, especially, not just the first half, but especially in the second half. I get it. You're up 14, you're up 8 at half. You kind of like what you're doing. You ride with it, right? In the second half, that lead starts to dwindle. You've got both of their bigs with 4 fouls, and you're not hammering the ball inside to Kalkbrenner. That is malpractice. And I get it, because our guy Jacob, who is on top of these things, will go, well, yeah, Hurley put a 6'7" guy on Stephen Ashworth to make that entry pass.
So
really
that's
difficult.
what I said. I said Ashworth can't get any clean looks, and he's the only one that can really enter post play without Fader on the floor.
So that's the problem, without Fader on the floor, because Fader's actually really good at feeding.
He's
the post.
pretty good.
He
must play with some pretty slick bigs, and I'm sure he gets those saucy, stretch guys that are crafty around.
But
the hoop
he's
too.
shown over the course of the season in his minutes, he's been pretty good at feeding Kalkbrenner, and he's 6'6". The size of the defender is not going to bother him nearly as much as it bothers Ashworth.
He does not play nor look 6'6".
I get that, but he does on the entry passes. On the entry passes,
I feel you.
He gets clean looks. I get the rest of the time he doesn't play that big, although I think he's a better rebounder than we give him credit for. But on those entry passes, you can see his height come into play.
I hate to use this because he is of paler complexion, but much like Neely, he's pretty crafty.
You get that a lot with the guys coming over from Europe.
I can say that about some brothers too. It is February.
For sure.
Nick Van Exel, SGA. Like those guys
SGA is super crafty.
Way crafty.
Like
you can't pattern that guy's game.
No, he's got a very unusual game. It's super hard to defend.
Would you feel better or less offended? Well, you might not be. Half of you may be. Would you?
Which half?
See, like you're drawing me in. That was not called for. That was uncalled for. I apologize.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
See, you just make it so casual to be racist. I'm not going to throw racist around. It's too easily used. How about Shifty?
Shifty's good.
He's kind of shifty.
He is, but no, I mean, like, he does have a crafty game. You look at, like, that's why he blew by guys a couple times because they just weren't prepared for.
But the other thing, though, is he's very good. He's like Neely. He's very good using his body.
Once he gets you on his hip, you're not getting back around.
So how about the little shoulder dip?
Yeah,
where he can turn the corner on you because he gets under you.
He's got a little DN to him where he gets that edge rush. He gets the shoulder dip and gets around the corner. Like, he's really good at that kind of stuff. But the thing that killed me, you mentioned
then he choked on a dunk.
He got fouled allegedly.
He was mad too. I mean,
he got free throws for it at least. I think he also was surprised that he jumped that high. He was, oh shoot.
I'm up here.
What do I do now? But no, you mentioned the Miller and Davis minutes earlier. That was my problem. It's not that those guys play, although maybe a little bit with Miller. I get with 2 fouls on Ashworth early, you want to put Davis in the game. If Davis is in the game ever, Fedor has to be in the game. Like, that is a non-negotiable for me, because it's one thing to have only Neal and Ashworth as your ball handlers. It's a completely other thing to have Ashworth and Davis as your ball handlers. You need Fedor out there in that lineup 100% of the time, like full stop. You can't have Mason Miller or Jason Green. As great as Jason Green played early, and I love Jason Green, Miller North guy, shout out. But you cannot have him as
At some point, can he just be JG or Jason?
Absolutely not. Always Miller North guy. Forever. I mean, how long? Eric Crouch graduated almost 30 years ago. Miller North guy. Forever. Roll Stanks. But like, you have to have Fedor in on those lineups 100% of the time. And then if you can't get the ball in the Kalkbrenner, you have to put Fedor in. Those are your options. Like, that's where I thought Hurley got the best of Mac last night, because Mac had a clear advantage for that stretch where the bigs were in foul trouble. And you've got the best big in the country, by the way.
But I will say this. You know why I think it was magnified?
Why?
Because that was UConn's best offensive lineup, too. That's when they got busy.
It was.
That's when they got busy.
But because of that, you then have to counterpunch with Kalkbrenner.
make them pay on the other end.
You have to make, if they're getting you on the defensive end, on the offensive end, because you're sure as hell not pulling Kalkbrenner, you have to make them pay for it. You just have to. Max should know that better than anybody. He used to run small lineups in the Big East all the time. He's got to know that. That's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla. More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Radio. That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla. We're here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill.
That's me watching Meat Dad. I'm sorry.
We're hoping the snow chills out a little bit so we can make it home at some point. We'll see though. We don't need any of that. We do need, coming up at 8:00, Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7. No, that's not Brian. I'm pretty sure.
I can't believe that he aggravates you so much.
8:30, we got Andy Kendeigh, KETV. What, the Southern Cooking or Shane?
Southern Cooking.
Oh, okay. 9:00, we've got Mitch Sherman from The Athletic as our final guest of the day. Did you have anything else on Creighton and UConn?
Well, I
know I kind of dominated the first couple seconds there. I apologize.
Fine.
I get a little worked up.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
I just hate him so much.
I know. You ain't got to tell me.
Getting tossed like a stir fry.
Who we got? Yeah, so we got a guy up there.
Is that Coach 30? Oh, that dude is hilarious.
Oh, I thought that was Tomlin.
You hurting the program.
I was talking about our heads here. We got Mike Tomlin.
You're fibbing.
And we got Deion Sanders.
Why does that voice have to – is that the first black head coach you thought of?
No, I was thinking Deion because I knew it wasn't Deion because that's a guy that I also don't like. Pretty famous.
Do I need to give you the shovel or are you good?
No, I'm good. That's
down my leg and I injured the other one.
That's a guy I also famously.
Hey, what did Ravi, what was he about to do again if I didn't cut him off?
Pissed down my leg and I injured the other one.
You sure we're about to?
No, I'm fine.
You can feel the tension in the air.
As
thicker than wicks.
As much as I don't like Deion, I like him infinitely more than Dan Hurley.
Oh, wow.
I dislike Dan Hurley so much more.
There's my guy. I was just about to text him yesterday.
Who?
I hadn't heard from him. I was going to make sure he was okay.
Who?
Denny. Real Denny.
Oh, yeah.
Not fake man.
Yeah, I saw him in the chat. I hadn't heard from him a little bit. Denny, you all right?
Denny had been quiet.
Kobe asked a good question.
All caps, Kobe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kobe! That's how I have to say it. I think that's how he means it. I think.
You think Kobe's like a knockdown 3-point shooter?
No, I think he shoots. He shoots a lot. Though.
He's like all in on Nebraska. Wait, would you guess his favorite sport is football?
Yeah, I would guess.
He's all things Nebraska.
What do you think Kobe's career 3-point percentage is? The real Kobe Bryant.
It's 36%.
I think that's high.
Yeah, 35-4.
Still high.
34-7.
Still high.
Barely. Is he a 33 guy?
32-9.
It's fine.
It's not though.
It's fine.
I love Kobe, but
but
the 3-point shooting was a little.
I don't know why you're gonna make me mad again.
I'm not trying to make you mad.
For the 567th time in 2 days.
Feel the tension in the air.
Yes. I love Kobe. Brian.
Robbie.
Yeah.
I just want you to know something.
Yes.
And you're a very much a connoisseur.
Somebody just stopped you in your tracks. What happened?
Oh, I saw surgery and I was like, whoa. Now I gotta. Okay.
Kobe.
You're very much a connoisseur of hoops. So if you watch, then you wouldn't say what you just said.
No, I know.
A lot of Kobe's low
shot selection.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. I know.
Okay.
I'm not saying he's not a good shooter.
I'm gonna clench my jaw.
No, I 100% understand. It's the same reason.
And why did you go there?
It's the same. Well, because you're like, is he a knockdown 3-point shooter? And I was like, I wouldn't really classify.
I'm not
Kobe
talking about that. I'm talking about
as
our
a
Kobe.
knockdown.
We probably can't claim another grown up.
Kobe. Yeah, sure we can. Why not?
He can't be our. He's his own Kobe.
It's the internet. We can do whatever we want.
just do it. Apparently,
it's coming on.
Boy, there's some truth to that. Although in real life, you can now too.
Coming on Monday. We'll see. We'll see how far that extends.
Yeah.
No, I just
who needs guardrails?
We do badly. No, I dislike Danny Hurley infinitely more than I dislike Deion.
Oh, so my man, Patrick, he thinks we're cool. He said I drove from Cambridge, nice, to Kearney last night after roughing basketball. I think he'll be able to make it home. Let's go, P.
Well, it wasn't snowing last night, Patrick.
No, I think he's saying. Oh, so was it last night?
I drove from Cambridge to Kearney last night after reffing basketball.
Dang.
The weather conditions are different.
They must be stretched.
P. O'Neill, it's a little different, man. I mean, I appreciate the check, but It's a little different.
Yeah.
Weather conditions and whatnot. Got to be careful.
They
out
won't
there.
be playing any hoops today, high school.
No, I don't think they're playing much of anything today.
No.
Not playing school, not playing hoops.
Public Enemy, shut it down.
Public Enemy number 1?
I don't know if that's appropriate, but.
What? Dan Hurley, Public Enemy number 1?
Well, it's
in
very,
Omaha
very,
last night.
very political group, so.
Oh.
I don't know. I didn't know if I should use the Public Enemy reference.
That's okay. It's a band.
Yeah, he was roughing.
Was it snowing out there last night, Patrick?
He
said
said
it was.
He said yes.
All right. Well,
Absolute.
So, can I just ask something?
Go ahead.
Would you rather be on the interstate with a fresh snow or in the neighborhoods? I kind of think neighborhoods. Did you see all the semis?
Definitely neighborhoods. I thought you were going to say interstate. I was like, you're nuts. No,
But
definitely
you think it would be just the opposite?
Mm-mm.
What do you mean? It's more wide open. It's a straight goddamn line.
No, that's the problem, though, is the more wide open it is, the more wind blow you get, the visibility goes down. Terrible. You don't want any of that.
He said wind blow.
You got the wind blow?
What did they keep saying during the broadcast last night that was driving me crazy?
Wait a second, Kobe. What do you mean it can snow in other parts of the state and not just here? I don't think that's right. Where I am,
It always snows in other parts of the state and not here.
much like a lot of other people in our country and community, like if it's not happening to me currently right now, I don't think it exists.
Well, you're not joking. You say that facetiously. I think you truly believe that.
Some people have a hard time imagining things outside of their own sphere,
No, I'm good.
See, our guys are out there working, though. Appreciate that.
I want one of those things he's standing on.
I know. He's got like a riding snowplow.
I don't know if I've ever seen one of those.
That's pretty slick.
Although I fell off a Segway once, so I'm not sure I'd get on that.
Yeah, that may not be for you.
How do you know?
Well, because if you're having trouble with a Segway.
That was like 2008. Lots changed.
Yeah, Segway technology's gotten better. I would think.
That thing wet.
You gotta be careful with those gyroscopes. I'm just saying, if you're having trouble with a Segway, you probably don't want to add a blade to the situation. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, I would avoid that. Like, if I'm not a good roller skater, I'm probably not going to be like, you know what? Ice skating, that makes more sense. Because now there's knives involved on my feet. I don't want to do that.
Right.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Is that Never mind. I'm not going to ask that question.
What?
It's a wrong question.
I was going to ask if that was like a...
No, you don't have...
Oh,
no.
I thought you told me to ask.
No.
Oh, you said
No.
what? I thought you
No.
wanted to hear.
Much like cabbage to collard greens,
Oh.
you don't... It's okay if you say, I was going to say, like, give it time to not
So
say.
that actually wasn't on air, I realized.
Oh, my bad.
That was when we were filming with Logan.
Yeah, that was foul. I'm telling you, man, super closet.
No, like a walk-in. I do enjoy a nice large walk-in closet. I got a lot of clothes. Denny said he had surgery back at December.
I know, that threw me for a loop.
Denny, I hope you're doing well. I'll text you. Make sure you're doing okay.
That threw me for a loop.
Yeah, I did.
Because there's a lot of people that I like, man, that are not in.
You gotta let us know. When
I
you're
got a good space.
out there getting surgery.
Gonna be
stuff,
a tough
man.
month.
For our regulars and stuff, man. You gotta let us know.
Tough month.
Yeah,
I'm getting there.
gotta dial in.
Yes.
Lock it in.
Lock it in.
Hopefully not a tough month for. We've got college baseball starting in a couple days. Talked to Will Bolt yesterday.
Yeah, they leave tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, what is it? They start Friday, right?
The MLB Classic, yeah.
Down in Arizona.
Yep.
That'll be fun. That'll be cool.
Tough slate too.
Got Vanderbilt on their second game.
I liked his start. They tweeted out the starting rotation, and it's got good balance.
You like him?
Lefties and righties.
You like
You
him?
got Brockett on the back end. I hope he's a little stronger.
Mhm.
I hope he can pick up where he left off last year. If Mason can go from Saturday to Friday, I think they got a chance.
That's a little harder than people think.
It is. I
It's
would
a
agree.
little harder than people think.
But were you surprised yesterday listening to Coach Bolt how much he and quickly
Mhm.
he was lamenting over Helixo?
yeah,
Like so it was a
He brought
two-guy
it-
question.
He brought it up.
And Helixo kind of dominated the answer.
Yeah.
You can tell how important he is to that baseball
100%. Yeah,
team. Like that was my takeaway. I'm like,
he stuck on him for a minute.
shoot, if Hogan stays healthy, he's
Yeah.
And he's much needed. I mean, it's a critical spot.
I do kind of wonder here, because these are, especially for Nebraska in the Big Ten, these are big games because for their strength of schedule and things like that.
And they scheduled tough.
They schedule tough, and they need these, right? So a lot of teams that are in better conferences kind of use this time to play around and figure out. We were talking about options versus defined roles and options versus answers. Nebraska doesn't really have the luxury to play around early.
This got away from me, but somebody DM'd me the best example of that, and I was like, wow, that's pretty perfect. But it's so far down, I can't go back and get it.
We can maybe find it during a break. But, that's the thing I'm a little part of the reason I answered, if I'm Will Bolt, I want defined roles early because I don't really have a runway, right? I don't have that opportunity. We see this with –
And unless we just don't panic, because that's what's going to happen, right?
Sure.
They may go 3 and
but you want
4 out of the gates, and people are like, oh, and –
but you want to put yourself in a position where you don't have to win the league, right? That's the goal in the Big Ten, is do enough in the non-con that you don't have to win the league tournament to get your bid, right? But that doesn't give you a lot of space early. It's the same thing we see with Creighton volleyball. They schedule incredibly hard early. They get after it, and then they have to –
locally, Scott basketball, Scott wrestling.
Yeah, and then you have to
volleyball.
Roll through your conference and get through that. But, if I'm Will Bolt early, that's why I know what guys are doing, right? Because I don't really have the luxury to play around a little bit.
Yeah.
A lot of these other schools, especially even when Nebraska was in the Big 12, right?
You won't. It ain't.
Creighton's the same way.
You got Irvine and Vandy out the gate, so giddy up.
Yeah, you got zero ramp up.
Giddy up.
It's like, hey, here we go. It's like starting your season in the Maui Classic, basically. That'll be interesting to see. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're going to talk to Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7, coming up next. We also did a deep dive on some Braxton Mia plus minus. We'll get to that today as well. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. It's Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Here is Husker 24/7 senior writer, Brian Christopherson.
Yeah, you got guys walking into Ace Hardware without their shirts on.
Brian Christopherson.
We got a pretty good sewing circle in this state.
Brian Christopherson.
To me, it's like crunch time, baby.
Here is Brian Christopherson.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. We're joined now by Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7. What's up, BC?
Just staying warm. How are you guys?
B, how we doing? You're not on the
I'm
move,
doing
are
all
you?
right.
Are you sedentary or are you on the move?
No. I'm at my kitchen table. I'm all good.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. What are we looking at for snowfall right now?
Well, we got like an inch or two. I don't have my AMS seal of approval, but that's what it looks like from the window. I haven't really stepped out there yet, but
is it still coming down?
Very lightly. It's not too bad.
It's picked
right
up
now,
a little bit here down east.
I don't like it.
Picked up a little bit.
Are people picking up the garbage are out there though? So I appreciate them. They're grinding still.
Oh, good on them.
That's true with my garbage. I had to roll those things out this morning.
Yeah, I thought about that job for a long time, like probably, I don't know, 10 or 12 years when I was younger. And I couldn't decide whether I'd want it to be really, really hot out and it would suck or really, really cold out and it would suck. But
hot.
Yeah,
for sure.
I don't know. How many deep are you riding when it's cold, BC? Because doesn't one guy always ride on the back?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying. I'm not trying to be the guy in the back when it's cold out.
You just go 3 in the front. Be all right. Yeah, things I think about, BC. Things I think about.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be the guy riding on the back, but I'm giving them their props. They're out there. I didn't necessarily expect to see them, so people are still moving around for now, at least.
Hey, if nothing else, Nebraska basketball fans, I know it sucks, or they're probably thinking, we'll just handle our own work. No way we could be cheering for Creighton to make that win, way back when, look even better, right? It's like there is no crossover cheering for that if you're a diehard Nebraska basketball fan.
Yeah, I don't know what the rules are on that. I do think some people have had sort of it's been a very mixed feelings for the last couple months with the Husker fans and how to treat Creighton basketball. And then you throw in the Hurley component to it, and some people might have attached that and been like, you know what, I'm okay rooting for CU in this one. But I don't know that people would say that out loud. It's something they'd like whisper to like their spouse or something and not really acknowledge in public.
You heard it here first. Brian Christopherson rooting for CU. We heard it.
Well, so during that 6-game win streak, losing streak, it wasn't hard to think that Creighton was going to be Nebraska's best win.
No, it wasn't. And you know what? It's an interesting thing how I'm getting into a long ago talk, but when I was in college at Nebraska, up in the Schramm dorm room, it was it Terrell Taylor who hit the game winner in Chicago that one year, like in the first round of the NCAA tournament. I'm not kidding you. At that point, there wasn't this like disdain between the two sides for one another. People on the floor, I wouldn't say went crazy, but there was definitely excitement that Creighton won that game. And it was like 3 to 5 years later, it started to really shift where that did a 180. So I actually remember back at a time when I was going to school at UNL when it wasn't quite the same vibes as it is now with Creighton, Nebraska. But you're right, Damon. I think for a long time that stood as one of Nebraska's best wins. And right now, obviously, in the metrics game, you're looking for every advantage you can get. And, CU having turned it around and done well lately helps Nebraska.
Brian, I'm glad you brought that up because I agree. I remember growing up it not being as much vitriol as there is now. Like, what do you know? What happened?
Nebraska, Creighton got a lot better.
Is that it? Like, just Creighton didn't feel like little brother anymore?
That's my feel. Creighton just took off.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Damon. I feel like for a while, Nebraska, I think, was winning the series, or it felt like they're at least splitting games, and then CU, won how many in a row, or it felt like they sort of were getting the lion's share of wins, and then they switched conferences, and it was no longer they're not in the little sandbox over here anymore. They're in a big conference too, and rubbing
putting
elbows
in work.
with that. But yeah, it is interesting how it shifted. I mean, I have maybe a different perspective on it because I grew up in Omaha, and I actually would go to Creighton games like when Bob Harstad and Chad Gallagher and DeJuan Cole and Latrell Reitzel, the Papa, were playing basketball there. So I've now of that certain age where I do have seen sort of the dynamics and how the two sides feel about each other shift pretty dramatically.
It's crazy how both guys in that backcourt are in Omaha too. That is hilarious. Like Cole and Reitzel are still here. BC. So we got Maryland, Northwestern, Penn State, Michigan. And the sports talk guy, I mean, can give you a 4-game slate and ask predictions. How careful do we need to be, or how confident should we be to say or not say, well, let's just start with Maryland, right? Because that would be the Nebraska basketball temperament. Other programs are allowed to look at a 3 or 4 game slate. It seems like our fan base will always say, hey, just worry about Maryland. Are we still in just worry about Maryland phase?
That's a good question. You know, I always think if you're not like actually inside the locker room and don't have to play that upcoming game, you're allowed to like look ahead. So I kind of push back on people. It's like we're not the guys doing the laundry for the team or anything. We don't have to just focus solely on Maryland. That said, I think what has served the team well is ever since Fred Hoiberg said, hey, every game is our Super Bowl after that Wisconsin loss of 6 straight. And he mentioned going into that Illinois game how they had wiped away everything off the board about Big Ten standings and all this and that, and it was just Illinois on the board then. We haven't really asked a follow-up to that, but I have kind of wondered if that's been the approach during this winning streak, is you have that name and everything about them right in front of you. You're not worrying about the standings. You're doing your best and not worrying about like what Joe Lunardi has you of last 4 in or any of that stuff. It's just like, here are the matchups. How are we going to get the better of this one? And you enjoy it for 4 hours after you win, and then you move on. And so I think they've sort of adopted that mindset, and they're going to need to carry it forward. As for those of us on the outside looking in, I always looked at the home game stretch of Ohio State, Maryland, and Michigan and said, man, if Nebraska could get 2 of those 3 and then 1 of the 2 in between on the road, boy, they'd be sitting pretty. And so the win over Ohio State left them in a good position there. I think if they can get 1 of these 2 quad 1 wins at home and go 500 on the road, they'd be holding steady, sort of staying 1 step ahead of everything.
We're talking with Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7. BC, this next 4-game stretch is really interesting. You know, I'm a big Ken Pom nerd, so I always look at the projections and things like that. Every single one of these next 4 games is a 1-point margin on Ken Pom. That include those 2 potential quad 1 wins with Maryland and Michigan kind of bookending it. Like if they go 2-2 in that stretch, sort of regardless, because you look at it 4 coin flip games, you look at if they go 2-2 in that stretch, would you be happy kind of regardless of where the wins come?
Yeah, I think so for the most part. I mean, it would be cool if they could sprinkle in one of those quad 1 wins at home. And if they did go 2-2, I would sort of assume they did some business at home. So yeah, I think that'd be a very successful for what the mission is. Now, they don't have to look at it that way, but that's interesting how you say the spreads are like 1 point. I mean, it's just in the Big Ten, it's just such a small margin for error. We see teams that, were down 1 month and then they're up the next. You really do have to have a strong mentality as a team and not get, sideswiped when you have a few bad games. And that's what I give Fred the most credit for with this team is everybody on the outside. I remember going on the radio myself, and you're kind of leaning toward putting the dirt over this team like a few weeks ago. And, here they are, and they stayed steady in sort of what they believed in. And I think just said, hey, we have to just be a little bit more consistent at it. Now, I still think there's room for improvement there. I was talking with Schaefer about this the other day, and it feels like in a lot of these games, even during the losing streak, Nebraska would play like 30 good minutes of basketball, but there'd be about 10 minutes that were just really bad. And, that's basketball a little bit. There's runs, good and bad, but I do think if he could get to like 34, 35 minutes that are really good, something like that, and kind of put that drought number down a little bit, that could be the difference in these close games you're talking about.
BC, now this is interesting because, I think 19 wins for the first time is squarely in play. So I'm not afraid to – I like how I felt like you gave me permission, Daddy BC, to kind of look ahead because I feel like we're just afraid to do that. And other good programs do it all the time, right? And I think coaches think in their head. They may not say it out loud, but they may think, man, we got to get 2 out of these next 3 or something like that. But we're so afraid to say it because they haven't had success. But quietly, Nebraska they're tied for second with most road wins in the conference with 4. Now, the 2 teams at the top, Michigan and Purdue, have 5. But Nebraska's the only team in the top 8 that's played 9 road games in the Big Ten. Everybody else has played 8 or less. So when you look at the schedule and you look at Nebraska at PBA, is the wins at home more magnified, or you feel better that you're not as desperate at home?
I mean, I always feel like there's that added pressure on every team's back when they're in their home arena to handle business. It was like a month or 2 ago, Fred. Well, I mean, Fred was talking about how they kind of keep score of it, and it's that feeling like if you go on the
plus,
road.
Is that the +1, -1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the plus, and that makes a lot of sense to me. So I do feel like there's always that feeling like tomorrow night, like don't give a minus, like hold even in this category. That said, it is nice for them that they don't have that narrative just weighing them down like a season ago where they started 0-7 in league play. And I mean, that became a giant boulder on the back. Like it felt like heading to the final games until they finally put that away. So I think that's good, for the mentality of this team that they did kind of knock that out of the park on that West Coast trip. But I liked that the last 2 games, it felt to me like they were able to get that mojo back in PBA, because it was fair to wonder when they lost to USC and Rutgers, okay, has that been taken off the table for this team? Because there was that spell where it just felt like whenever they're in this arena, this team and this fan base feed off each other, where you just kind of know they're going to find a way. And I got to be honest, even on Sunday, even when they were down 5 points at halftime to Ohio State, I was like, you know what? There's been foul trouble, some of this. I think they're going to be fine in this game. I sort of had that home court belief in them. Now it's going to be interesting. How do they respond with Berke and his injury and other guys needing to step into larger roles? And I think the Berke story, could talk about that for 5 minutes, because it's just, he's one of those guys where I think at some points in the year people would be like, big deal, he's not part of it. And then when he's actually taken away from the lineup, you realize how significant he is to all the operating parts of that team. So that's not a small thing, the fact that he's not available, especially tomorrow against this big front court from Maryland.
And all things that make you think Nebraska basketball, we're talking about a guy in Berke who can drop a dime from wing to far corner, and he's more as apt to just airmail one out of bounds, knock down a 3 as he is to shoot an air ball, right? So it's like, I mean, that is vintage Nebraska. Let me ask you something about numbers, BC. So we got 2 teams that have 5s within the streaking column. Michigan has won 5 in a row. Penn State's lost 5 in a row. Nebraska's next at winning 4 in a row. Two of those 3 teams that I mentioned are on Nebraska's schedule coming up. Who continues to trend in that direction if Nebraska is going to have success over the next 4? Is it Michigan and their success, nice comeback win last night, holding court at home, or Penn State continuing to slide?
I would say that Penn State game, just because early in the year, Penn State, to me, on the road looked like a real sneaky kind of tough game.
Kimpom still thinks it is.
Yeah, and it could be. I always think whenever you go on the road, even if a team has lost 5 or 6 in a row, I just think that it can be dangerous in this league because everybody has the capability, as we've seen it with Nebraska, seen it with UCLA, to suddenly sort of flip a switch and get right for a few games. And so I got to be honest, Damon, I don't get as worried. Sometimes I actually look at it the other way. Like I'll see a team that's won 4 or 5 in a row going into their game against Nebraska, and I'd be like, I think this is an okay time for Nebraska to play them because they're not that wounded animal, that like has to have this game. Maybe I go too far with that sometimes, but I always do have sort of that, like, this team has to have it. Their backs are against the wall. Their whole season's on the line. You're going to get their best. So that's why I thought the win, honestly, at Oregon, and I know Oregon's got a lot of quad 1 wins and it's probably going to be fine. But they were
Boy, were they shaky down the stretch after handling Northwestern for the bulk of that game last night. Ooh.
Yeah, they were. And but I thought that when Nebraska played them, they were coming off that, debacle where they got hammered by UCLA, and I thought, well, that's going to be tough for the Huskers, against a team that like has to have it. So that's kind of my mindset sometimes. But Michigan playing the way they are, obviously that's going to be a tough game at PBA. That's why I say if you can get one of the Maryland or Michigan games at home, Nebraska already has 5 quad 1 wins, and by my math, there were 26 teams in the country that had that, and so they're sitting at a good table right now. So if they can add a couple more down the stretch, it's just going to be hard for a committee to pass up on them.
Maryland is tough in the front court with guys like Queen. They got to figure out how to stay in front of Rice and Gillespie. What concerns you the most if you're Nebraska tomorrow, if you're going to hold serve at home?
It's probably Queen, Reese too to some degree, but just the way he can get after it. I think he had like 29 and 15 his last time out. And, we saw against like Illinois, Nebraska got smoked pretty good on the boards, but was able to withstand it because they kind of evened it out in the points off turnovers and some other categories. I don't know that that's as easily done again, trying to replicate that. So my biggest worry is just second chance opportunities, being able to finish off defensive possessions when you think you do have a stop and claiming the ball, because that's where I go back to Burke. He's one of their better rebounders, and Braxton Mia's going to have to give him some good minutes. Andrew Morgan's going to have to play, up another notch. And a sidebar is you're just going to have to some way kind of avoid some foul trouble with certain guys like they had last game. And I know some of that can be on the officials and how they want to whistle things, but that's going to be a big part of it. You can't have like Jawan Gary sitting for like 8 minutes in the first half tomorrow night in this game. So, I mean, that's going to be critical.
BC, I'm glad you brought up Braxton Mia because DB and I kind of did a deep dive on him yesterday.
Now, full disclosure, it's because I was kind of being petty. This start, and Ravi did the homework. I was going to do it, and I don't know, 10 minutes later, he whipped out all these numbers. I was like, fudge. But, I was like, hey, we got to be careful about the Mia buzz as of late, with the free throw shooting and his play because of what Ravi's getting.
Yeah, so Mia was -7 in that win, even though we were kind of okay with his minutes in general. Do you have any idea, just off the top of your head, and you probably don't, but I don't want to lead you here, do you have any idea what Braxton Mia's plus-minus is against power opponents this season?
No, I didn't know he was -7. What's the whole number, though?
So for against power conference opponents this season, he's -33.
Mm-hmm.
That is, and there's been a couple games where he hasn't even played, and more importantly, he's been minus in games that they win as well. So I'm curious, if you're in Nebraska, how much do you actually want to play him versus
playing the exposure game?
Morgan?
That's a good one.
Obviously you're going to have to use him some, right?
That's a good one.
But how do you minimize, because it seems clear to me this is a pretty large sample size at this point for power conference opponents. He really, really struggles, and the difference between his non-power numbers versus his power numbers are dramatic. We're talking a 57-point difference in about the same number of games.
He's plus 24 in non.
He's plus 24 in non-power conference games, -33 in power conference games. So, like, how do you use him to get the minutes you need to not have to play Andrew Morgan 40 minutes or go super small ball without exposing him to a level of play that he seems to really struggle with?
That's where the foul trouble or lack of it, hopefully, situation is so important, because I'm
Good
with
call.
you on where you're going, because I feel like they're best when Braxton, when he's needed like he's going to be, when it's like that 8 to 10 minute range, right? Where he gives you like three or 4 minutes here, and then maybe there's that second half spot, and it's just like, give us 100 right here. Like against Creighton, when they beat CU early in the year, like he came out and he honestly played 3 of the best minutes of basketball right off the bat. I still remember him going to the sideline and he was like out of breath and all that stuff. And I'm not saying that to mock him. I'm saying because he gave everything he had to those few minutes and they were effective, and it kind of set a tone. And so that's the kind of Braxton Mia they need tomorrow night. Like if he gets that in there right away, it's like, I want to see him give those 3 or 4 minutes where it's just everything he has. This is why he came here, for this moment, to help this team in a spot like this. And then he goes to the bench and he's out of breath and all that, but the crowd is appreciative. So he's got to claim those boards. There's been too many times when for a 7-footer out there, the Huskers have not controlled the glass like you'd want. And so that's going to be a big part of it with the test tomorrow, because these guys on the other side, they're physical and they find ways to win the glass. So it is a tough spot. I think this is one of the, if you had to pick a ill-timed part on the schedule to have Berke go out with an injury, I think it's going into this game on us, so that's something they're going to have to really get everybody to step up 1 or 2 notches to kind of make up for it.
As the self-proclaimed resident Maryland honk, just as the basketball junkie here, the thing that bothers me the most with this team that I think Nebraska can match, because it's not a talent thing, Maryland plays so stinking hard. Every possession, both ends of the floor, they're grimy. They get a ton of loose balls. They're really good on the offensive glass. Could I it sounds too dumbed down, but Nebraska's going to have to match Maryland's effort level more than anything that has to do with skill, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I will say, though, I think Nebraska will go into this game, there's a confidence, not that they wouldn't have it anyway playing at home, but you go back to that first game out there, I think Nebraska feels like they should have won it.
That was one of those 30 to 31 minutes of playing well game that you were talking about.
Yep. And you're tied with 1 minute left. I mean, imagine if that one were on the resume. We could play that game all day long, too, of the 4 games that were so close they lost. But that's where I think this team's done a good job of not letting those games that got away define it. And, sometimes a team can accept when you're in a skid like that, like, okay, that's the narrative of this season. We're going to be in March, and we're going to all look back at all the close ones that got away. Instead, Nebraska has so far in this stretch kind of turned that story on its head, and they're looking at tomorrow night as just another opportunity to do that. But you're right; they got to match the energy or have more of it right off the bat. That's where guys like Sammy Hoiberg are so big too. Like, getting on the floor for a ball or diving in the stands. Those plays when Nebraska's good at PBA, he like makes a play like that every time, and it just feeds everything. So hopefully that happens early and often, and if it does, I still think Nebraska's going to win, even if they're shorthanded.
That's BC. Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7. We appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Be safe, B.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. That's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. Do we have AK here, Shane?
Did you forget you got so caught up talking to us, Liquid?
Yeah, I got.
That's fair.
That's all right.
I'm so bad.
What I don't want you.
He said, "I'm so bad."
That was weird. I didn't like that.
Kind of whiny.
What I don't want you to forget is that the Omaha Supernovas are back in town on the 16th, just a few days from now. Get to supernovas.com to get yourself some
fire.
unbelievable crowds. You love to see it.
And nobody can front run like we can. And so they're good.
Yeah.
And it's volleyball.
We're going to talk to Supernova tomorrow. It'll be a little surprise for you. 3 All-Stars from your Omaha Supernovas. Make sure you get out, supernovas.com, get those tickets, and be there on, what day is the 16th? Is that Sunday?
Yeah.
Sunday, the 16th. There
Just
you go.
because that fake holiday is Friday.
Which one? Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
Not a big Valentine. You seem like a big mushy Valentine's Day guy. You know what the real holiday is today? You know what that is?
I don't even love myself.
You should work on that. Get some therapy. Talk to somebody.
I got somebody you can talk to.
Let's go.
We got our guy Andy Kendeigh from KETV. AK, what's going on, man?
Morning, boys. It's very rare I'm the first one up in the Kendeigh household on a weekday, but that's where we're at. For you fellas on a snow day, I get up.
We appreciate that, Andy.
Hey, I'm just telling you, we were exchanging texts in the 5 o'clock hour, so take that, AK.
Yeah, we were.
Everybody all right? Everybody got to work okay?
Yeah, can I ask you a technical news question?
Getting home, I'm a little more concerned about, but go ahead, DB.
Right, right.
So you guys, news, they do the thing where you're in the vehicle, and then, I think this morning it was Anna. She says, "Oh, hey, let me know, turn the camera around." So who's driving and what vehicle are you using when you guys do that? Are you using your little mini sport utilities?
There's a mini sport. Yeah, it's like I think it's a Ford Escape or Ford Explorer.
Yeah, I see him. I see him parked out there when I do the recordings.
Yeah, and but there's a special vehicle that's rigged with this contraption. Lauren and I had to take this thing to Lincoln last week for the Danny Bustle Kelly thing, and you barely can wedge yourself in there. And it's got 2 cameras or 3 cameras. I think just 2. There's a photographer who's driving, and then the reporter who's sitting there reporting. I do find it interesting. It's an interesting development in local news. And that's the. Yeah, it's your classic stay off the roads, but we're going to show you.
Yeah, and I think they were on either 10th or 13th, and I was like, there's nothing about that vantage point that says, hey, let's go into the studio.
To be fair, that is like down the street for them, right? Like that's,
Right. That is right around the corner, so there is that.
And it's like the first news segment of the morning, so of course, I'm early, so, the streets, there was still a lot of work to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and they got this is opening day for them, and rarely is opening day in the middle of February, right? It's very rarely after the Super Bowl that you have your first major snow event. And now, I think Ramby jinxed it because we were talking about it the other day. I'm like, has there ever been a less snowy winter? And he was saying that this was on record going to be until today the fewest snow in terms of inches that we've ever had, and that obviously is not going to happen. And we're supposed to get more. Here's the thing: this is just somebody was saying that this weekend. I think Bill was saying that this weekend we've got chances for more. So yeah, here we go. Winter starts in the middle of February.
AK, let me ask you something. As a guy that we spend a lot of time together, just in general, and I know you got a great sense of humor, can be pretty sarcastic. If you give it, you got to be able to take it, right? Is there a part of you that vibes with Hurley, or even you like? I don't know.
No. This may not be popular around here. I think it's great.
Yeah, because I get your personality.
Absolutely. He's a guy that if he's your coach, you absolutely love him to death, and if he's not your coach, you dislike him. Isn't that what college? Isn't that what rivalries are all about?
Yeah.
He's walking off the court and he's showing his 2 rings or whatever, and he's dishing it out in the post game. Isn't that what this is? Isn't this what college rivalries is about? I And obviously the guy can coach. The dude's a hell of a coach, as evidenced by his national championships.
His two rings, as we found out.
Yeah, his 2 rings. He's got not 1 but 2 rings. I think isn't that great for the sport? And obviously, here's the thing that is my seal of approval that I think that he's good for college basketball. Mac likes him, right? I mean, Mac and him, they get along just fine. There's no, they get it. They want to beat the hell out of each other when they're on the court, So and they know they can dish it to each other, right? This is what it's all about. This is what college basketball is all about. And if fans hate Dan Hurley, that's awesome. You have every right to hate your opponent's coach and yell at him and within reason, and shout and yell and be a fan. But I just think it's okay. I don't get too wrapped up in I think he's great for college basketball, to be honest with you.
Couple things here, Andy.
This is the resident BH hater right here.
Here we go.
DH.
I don't like Bobby Hurley either. The whole family is dead to me. But Andy, we love you. I know you've been here for a long time. That take has your Wisconsin showing a little bit. I'm just saying. Like, it's got a little – I felt a little Madison vibe there. That's all I'm saying. I think the Mac likes this guy thing is a little overplayed. They say that about everybody in the league. There's no way he likes all the coaches. I don't buy it.
I was kind of vibing with the handshake because Mac is very good at like staying in, like he's self-aware, but that would have took some extreme faking. Because, they kind of had the lock, and then there was the pat, and Matt kind of stood up straight, and I was like, oh, it might be something. But then there was like the whisper, and then it was the back pats, and I was like, oh, that's fine.
Yeah, we don't know what he whispered, though. I'm holding on to that.
Right.
Maybe he said something nasty to him.
He probably was like, do you love our student section? Well, how about that?
I'm just saying,
how about that Hurley entrance?
How much of a little crybaby do you got to be? Like, the president of the United States needed less cover to go onto the field at the Super Bowl than Danny Hurley needs to walk onto the floor at CHI.
Hey, how about the dude without the tie on that came out like just being belligerent with the student section? I was like, just get to the court.
You got a bunch of 18-year-old like trust fund babies living in your head rent free. Like, what do you think's going to happen, Dan? You're supposed to be
as the little dude too up front with the pretty hair. He had the slick
You're
back
from
hair.
New Jersey and you're afraid of a bunch of private school kids from Omaha? Like, what are we doing?
Wow.
And you saw
not the stereotype.
He
plays the New Jersey tough guy, like be the New Jersey tough guy, all right?
About the trust fund babies.
I'm sure there's a lot of diversity at Creighton. It's fine.
Well, I was going to say when he's during post game and his sports info guy kind of stops him at the end and he kind of thanks him because he was going down a road I don't know if you could recover from, and he just stopped where he was stopping. I will say this, guys, though, we talked to Mac, I don't know, maybe it was last year, year before, about the Big East and coaches and whatever, and there is a group text of Big East coaches. So obviously they are competitors to the heart, right? And they want, again, their goal is to win games. But there is a level of camaraderie within the coaching brethren in that league, and because what's good for one team is good for the league. So I think when it comes tournament time, everybody's rooting for each other unless you're playing each other. You know what I mean?
I do appreciate those NCAA tournament checks that UConn keeps cashing for us, but if there was a guy in the league that gets left out of the group text, who do you think it would be?
Oh my goodness!
Because I have an answer.
I don't think it's Hurley.
I don't either.
I think that guy's up in New York.
Oh, you think Pitino gets left out?
Yeah, I'm not messing with that guy.
He probably sends some questionable gifts.
Do you think he knows how to gift? He knows how to send a gift?
Maybe that's fair.
Goes, hey, show me one of those video things and send it to this. The one with the baby running into the kitchen and then turning around.
Well, he's probably the only one that would rock a monochromatic suit that was, like a white or a red or an all. Like
that's true. As soon as Mac got permission to stop wearing suits, he's like, I'm out. We're done.
How sweet was that white quarter zip last night though?
Yeah.
I think it's Shaka, by the way.
Dude,
I think Shaka gets left out.
Shaka might be the actual, the real fun guy.
I don't know.
Like, everybody else would be sitting around and, hey, pass me the Mick Ultra. Hey, give me my bullet on the rocks. And Shaq will be like, where's the music?
Yeah. Don't you think that Shaq is the guy that's jumping on the couches?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's what.
Yeah,
Yes. Tom
with
Cruise
the long
talk show
t-shirt
smart.
And that seems like the guy that Mac wants to hang out with? I don't think so. I'm just saying, if we're talking about post-game handshakes, that's the one guy I've seen Mac kind of bristle up to in a post-game
Shaka
handshake.
is totally the where's the music guy.
I just don't know if that guy's invited to Omaha Country Club. That's all I mean. That's all I mean.
Well,
it's because of the sleeves. It's the outfit. He doesn't match the attire. AK, we appreciate the time as always. I'm sorry for the Wisconsin crack. We love you.
It's all good, man.
We love you.
We can get you out. We can take it. That's all fun.
We'll talk
good
to you
man,
later.
AK. Appreciate you.
Fellas.
More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
Neal for three. And a foul is called on Johnson now. And that's his fourth. Well, they're going to have the jackets coming off.
We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Neal for three. And a foul is called on Johnson now. And that's his fourth.
Well, they're going to have to
The
go
jacket's
small.
coming off.
Wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. And I'm telling you, we're just a few hours away from Glow Big Red. glowbigred.unl.edu is where you go to make your donations. It raises funds for all sorts of things across the university. Scholarships, different colleges and departments, student organizations, fraternities and sororities, Husker athletics, anything you can think of, Glow Big Red helps to fund. And starting at noon today through noon tomorrow, you can get these mittens for free with a donation. Everyone that makes a donation of $75 or more during Glow Big Red gets a pair of these free mittens. They are terrific looking and they feel super soft and warm. They are fleece mittens. Make sure you get to glowbigred.unl.edu to make your donation. Show your love and support for the university we all love. DB.
Yo.
Speaking of things that we love.
Yeah, you know something I love?
What's that?
So they have new scented splash guards in the restroom here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, they did a little sprucing up recently.
I have my olfactory is a thing.
You do have a very strong sense of smell.
It is, and that's an incredible scent.
Sometimes you're like, hey, what are they cooking in here? And you start naming stuff. Like, I don't know. It smells like a grill. What do you want from me, man?
It's my little homie. She knows beef.
It's a thing that you and my wife have in common. Like you can just identify like very specific smells.
It's a thing.
It is a thing. You know,
thing.
You miss your calling as a chef, maybe.
No. I can't cook in bulk.
Yeah. Maybe like a fine dining establishment. You got these little, you know.
No.
I'm just saying, I think Shaka Smart gets left out of the group text. He seems like the annoying one that nobody wants to talk to.
I don't know.
He seems like annoying little brother that like wants to hang around and be like, let's have some fun. And yeah, I don't
like he's a play the music guy.
Yeah. Does anybody else in that
but wait a
crew
minute.
seem like they want to hang out and play the music guy?
More people are not like Mac than are. And Mac, I think quietly is pretty fun.
No, that's fine.
I think he would be a great guy to go have a drink with. I think he'll swing the stick.
I
think he's a little more hip than you think.
So I'm not saying he's not. He seems fun but chill.
Okay, so listen.
Shaka does not seem chill.
So which one of these is not like the other?
Okay.
Shaheen.
Okay.
You can go to Providence, your fave.
Kim English.
Yep. You can Shaka, Rick, Danny, Mac. I just gave you a handful.
So to me, Mac seems the most laid back of that group.
But doesn't he come across as the most buttoned up? However, they are really. I'm talking about perception. So I think you're basing all the other guys at the little shindig based on Mac. Mac may be the one to have to adjust.
Yeah, but Mac, like when you're the chill guy, most people are cool with you.
Well, Kim English seems pretty chill when he's not trying to close out on threes.
Yeah, that's like the least chill thing you can do as a coach.
No, but for the most, like the dude crosses his legs sometimes.
What does that mean?
That's hard to do during a game. Like you have to have some chill in you.
I'm just
that's
saying.
Closer to a guy that drinks vino than OE.
I don't even know what OE is.
Of course.
Old English, is that what it is?
Oh gosh.
I think I have a drop for that.
What?
I thought he was going to play a different drop that he plays sometimes. I don't even know. So I did have a question for you. We're going to change gears here a little bit.
English.
That's not the drop.
This dude's talking to himself.
He's always talking to himself.
Shane, I love you.
There's
man.
no dogs out
I
here,
think
man.
You're pretty crazy.
It's too cold. Make sure your dog's got like a coat on or something. You take him out for very long.
What would you like to know? Hey, by the way, can I say this before you ask me my question?
Yeah.
How accurate is your Alexa?
With weather?
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, mine sucks.
Not great, but I mean, okay, so I only use it for temp. I don't use it for snow, like precipitation.
Listen, she can't forecast a thing.
So the Apple app is low-key pretty bad too.
Is it?
Yeah. So it's not exclusive to Alexa.
Okay.
Because every day, I'm going and I'll look at, we're not supposed to get precipitation until X hour or whatever.
Yeah,
and then Bill Ranby's like, no, that is not accurate.
Listen, she's never right.
Yeah.
Never right.
So I only use Alexa for the temp
Okay.
to know like what I need to wear that day.
And even should I be mad about 4 or 5 degrees?
I mean, it should be pretty easy to get that right.
She doesn't.
Maybe she's doing a feels like temp.
She blows. She's not good. Not good.
Like snowblowers? Who's good to...
Maybe check your location.
Maybe check yours.
Oh, that's a good idea. Maybe your location's off.
Yeah, I mean, it could be off.
Look
I
at
don't even know how to do that.
Look at Shane, problem
And
solving.
maybe it's where you used to live. I don't know.
It's 5 degrees warmer up north.
You want me to turn her location on? It is clear across town, though.
It is, but it's not 4 or 5 degrees different.
I don't know. That's pretty. You guys get it a lot worse closer to Fort than I do closer to Harrison.
Maybe. I don't
Man,
know.
the weather sucked over there. There was that strip down Fort. It was like a nightmare.
I do feel like there's certain stretches, especially in the summer, where the thunderstorms kind of go down certain corridors.
Yeah.
And the middle of the city gets missed a lot.
I used to call it the Fort Street corridor.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lot
Lot of accidents, a lot of bad weather.
I don't live so far. I'm like right on Dodge. I don't live so far north that I don't catch that.
Your bougie line cuts off.
Well,
Our friend had the greatest line ever Friday.
What?
So his house is relatively new. You've been over there, right?
Who?
RP.
Yeah.
Pretty nice place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good enough.
Well, I'm aware.
I'm like, God, it must be rough. You don't like the way people park, you move. I don't like the way people park. I have to.
You got to camp out in your garage. Be like,
Listen,
they coming outside?
practice courage. Caught one of them outside yesterday. It's very obligatory.
Yeah.
Oh, cooler than a fan. Put both in a driveway.
Oh, nice. There you go.
Yeah.
Look at you having adult conversations.
Oh, well.
Look at that. I'm so proud of you.
It wasn't. Get my nut. Full disclosure, it wasn't exactly me.
Was it Jake? Yes. I was ready to give you that W too.
I couldn't even take it. I gotta tell the truth.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
A little bit of that W. We ain't talk for the next 4 hours.
As in typical DB fashion, I made it about me.
I was gonna do it. Now you make me look like a chump.
Yeah. It's great.
I pissed down my leg and I injured the
Exactly.
other one.
Exactly. It's fantastic.
TB out there trying to talk to his neighbors. I pissed down my leg and I injured the other one.
Well, you clearly didn't have the courage. Always taking shots.
I mean, if she comes back with that, that is a shot. Like that's not really making it about you. She kind of made it about you.
no,
Getting
she
tossed like a stir fry.
pretending to wear a watch, which she wasn't, and did that.
And I wonder where Zoe gets it.
That's why I'm leaving.
It's fine.
Oh, maybe you can move in with our friend at his new place.
I don't like her either. So anywho, what's the question?
Well, we only got 2
Can you
minutes.
believe I waited so long that somebody else did it for me?
I actually do believe that.
And it
yes.
made me mad. I was gonna do it.
No, you weren't. You probably weren't.
I'd made a sandwich and put it by the couch for my stakeout.
You're like prepping for it. You're like, I got
I was
this.
like, shoot.
Did she just go knock on the door?
I gotta get a paper towel to put this meat and cheese on. This is where bread would be nice. I
Yeah.
might be here a minute.
So you didn't make a sandwich. You had meat and cheese.
I wrapped it up. I put
In
it
what?
a roller. Like I just rolled it.
That's
And
not
I
a
put
sandwich.
toothpick in it.
That is not a sandwich.
I didn't know how long I was gonna be over there.
That's an accoutrement.
All right. I hate you too.
It's fine.
Well, I knew that. We have 2 minutes now, but I was going to ask you. So it doesn't look like the Jets are going to keep Aaron Rodgers.
Nope.
Aaron Glenn said you can get stepping, and
Yeah, he apparently is not gonna be super patient.
got to run a tight ship over there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's my question: Your Steelers need a quarterback.
Yeah.
The Giants across town need a quarterback. If you're either of those franchises, are you taking a chance on Aaron Rodgers?
No. But I do like the reports. This guy is pretty good. Bill made a good hire there.
Can Stafford be made available? Because apparently he's on the rumor to be moved.
So apparently there's a cap issue there.
So it's what was it? It's going to cost us what, 38 mil?
Yeah, so it's a $19 million cap hit this year. And if they cut him or get rid of him, I believe it's a $2 million cap hit. So that's pretty significant. It's a $17 million difference if they get rid of him.
Clearly I would take Stafford over Rodgers. But
here's the question.
I would cheer for Aaron Rodgers.
If you're the Rams and you are trying to save the cap hit, okay, but then you got to go sign a quarterback or get a quarterback who's going to eat up that cap hit, right?
Listen.
Like, what's the point?
I don't know. Maybe they can draft
Jackson Dart?
Yes. Thank you. Oh, my gosh. I get so
You were so mad when you saw that.
Yeah, I'm like, Field, knock it off.
At 21.
Oh, yeah, I'd be pissed.
You know what? We're going to get back into mock drafts at some point. Can somebody please explain to me Travis Hunter at 1?
You can't do it.
Does that make Tennessee any better?
I don't think you can do it. Because the thing I think you have to worry about with Travis Hunter, and I get it, he's been the two-way man. I think you have to worry about longevity.
He's little, and he did get hurt his first year there.
He got hurt both years.
Let's not forget, he's missed games. I'm just saying, he's not playing both ways in the NFL, not full-time.
Yeah.
So what are we doing here, taking not the best corner, not the best wide receiver? Would you take any of those guys number 1 anyway? Mm-mm. We'll have Mitch Sherman coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Now, gas station coffee enthusiast and Nebraska writer for The Athletic, Mitch Sherman.
It's great to see you. It's been since a cold day in the corner of Memorial Stadium.
Mitch Sherman.
I wrote that down because I'm going to use it in life.
Mitch Sherman.
It's not something that you generally hear, and it's certainly not something that you see put into action.
Mitch Sherman.
It's a lot more rare than you might think that they actually say it in the way that he says it and then go do it.
Here is Mitch Sherman.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Mitch, what's going on?
What's going on? Just you guys enjoying the snow?
Loving it. It's the best.
I did think of you, though. Like, are you going to get to use your snowblower?
Yeah, I brought it inside. I brought it inside because it was in the box. I don't know. Did we talk about this? But I got a snowblower in November.
Yeah.
I got a new one in November. Yeah, it was a birthday present to myself. And it was in the box in my garage yesterday, and it was too cold in the garage to get it assembled. So I carried the box inside, which was very heavy, and basically took it out of the box, and that was all there was. It didn't need to be put together at all. So now it's sitting in my living room. I'm gonna wheel it outside here later this morning when the snow stops.
I got
yeah.
All right,
Go
now
ahead.
keep in mind, I'm going to be honest. I am a guy that put my Traeger together in 2004 inside. So I get things can be done, but it was a little Traeger. So one of two things has to be true. Either that's not a snowblower that can take on a lot of snow, or there's like a moat and a castle that you live in that has an entryway where you're just bringing in snowblowers through the door to put together.
It's a Toro. It's in a big box. I mean, it was in a large box that, I mean, I was able to get it out of my car it was under the stairs in my garage, and I had to get it up about 6 stairs to come into my house. Probably weighed, I don't know, it's easily over 100 pounds, but yeah, it's pretty big. I got it done though. Probably the fact that I can carry it inside is it goes against the whole idea of needing a snowblower in the first place. If I can carry.
I wanted to say that, but I didn't want to be offensive.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's actually a compliment. I just complimented myself.
Oh, this is so on brand for the show this morning. Okay, all right, this is gonna be like super rapid fire, and I want to go a bunch of places, but I actually found myself, Mitch, and I know as a Chiefs guy, but pretty level-headed. I'm mad.
Wait, you're a Chiefs guy? Okay.
No, I'm talking to one.
I'm not.
You're not. Oh, I thought you were a Chiefs guy. No, it's Royals.
No, just Royals. Just Royals.
Okay, so let me ask you something here, Mitch. Good. That's even better. So we went through this 2 weeks of ready to fast forward and put Mahomes somewhere and category of his own and dynasty and past Brady and all of that. I'm not dismissing his accolades, but I was like, gosh, it's only been 2 years since Brady retired. Where did we cross the line where one more was going to be enough for his own status? So I gave that a little pushback. But then I was mad after the Super Bowl that we spent all this time tearing down Mahomes, that he's got to start all over, and now he's got to get to 4 or 5 to get to Brady's status. And I'm like, we invented this. Mahomes didn't. His play didn't. He's still the same guy that you guys got mad at after 2020. Like, we built up all these fake things, then we tore him down, and now he's like, well, he needs a couple of more now. Like, we just made up our own narrative for a guy that didn't have anything to do with it, really.
I've kind of been over this whole topic since about 2015, which was when Patrick was not in the NFL. I understand, but I was over this topic when it
Somerville.
Yeah, I was right. I was over the topic when it was LeBron and Jordan,
Sure.
It's like, why? It's so like low hanging fruit. We just, for whatever reason, like I think that the media assumes that this large segment of the sports fan population can only engage if we're talking about who is the greatest of all time. It's like one of 2 or 3 discussion points that just has to exist. Like it has to be a part of our sports discussion. So when it's like people are it's like foaming at the mouth to have this conversation about Mahomes when he wins 2 Super Bowls, or he wins 3, but he wins 2 in a row and then is back going for a third. I don't care. Like they played, it's maybe a little bit more relevant than the basketball discussion because at least they played in somewhat of the same era. But can they just both be really great? And like, can we recognize the fact that like there were different circumstances for each one of them? And I don't get wrapped up in who's better. They're great in their own ways. And Brady lost 2 Super Bowls, so I don't think that Mahomes losing and even like losing big and looking bad, it's the Super Bowl. Like the Eagles are really good, so he'll be back. Like he's gonna be more motivated now to get back. Like I'm more intrigued probably going into 25 to like see what he does and again, I don't study the Chiefs. I'll watch them. My daughter's a huge Chiefs fan, so we get a lot of Chiefs in the house, but I'm more intrigued now by him going into next year to see how he bounces back and like what he does to change his game. And maybe he'll be doing it without his biggest weapon over his career. I think, different subject. Here's another subject that we have to always go to is Travis Kelce going to retire? Like, okay, we can talk about that for the next
I did go down
3 months.
DK rabbit hole Sunday night into Monday morning. A couple of Chiefs fans put out these cut-ups of Travis Kelce apparently not to them playing very hard and kind of going through the motions. Every great franchise that wants to maintain greatness has always got to make tough decisions. If you're the Chiefs, do you leave it up to Kelce, or do you do what you have to do in order to get that roster where you need it to be? Because tackles are going to be expensive.
Part ways with him? No, I don't think so. I mean, if he wants to come back, I think you'd let him. But I don't know the Chiefs salary cap situation or even like what their free agency situation is like, and not studied their depth chart. But I just think if you've got an all-time great, and I mean, because his value is about a lot more than just the yards and touchdowns. I think if he wants to come back, then that's great. But I kind of think he's not going to want to. I think he's probably ready to move on to all of the other ventures that he can get into outside of the NFL or outside of playing in the NFL, which he's obviously already deep into, but can go more.
If a team pays him $11.5 a year and he could make more than that not playing,
yeah, he's seeing
probably be a lot.
Seeing that sweet McAfee money.
Mm-hmm.
Mitch, so speaking of the Super Bowl, not a Chiefs topic, something I've been thinking about for a few days now, though, is we've seen a few times, and it's easier said than done, right? But we've seen a few times where if a team can get pressure consistently with 4, it sort of neutralizes almost everything else, right? Is there anything in football you would take over consistently getting pressure with 4?
Oh, probably. I mean, I'd like to have a Hall of Fame quarterback. On the defensive side, no. I think that's just off the cuff. I think that's probably the number one thing defensively that can dictate what you are as a group. Not having to send linebackers and for sure. But I think it's still an offensive game. I mean, we didn't look like it on
Gary Collins.
Well, it did on one side, but I think I'd probably still go for like a Hall of Fame QB.
Well, that's gutsy. I don't want to steal your time debating this, but fudge, we saw OCU Minor, like we saw the
one beat the other on Sunday, so I'm going against the lot.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of why I brought it up, right?
It happened to Mahomes. It's happened to Brady.
Yeah,
both those guys be HO effort.
He's right, but I mean, his record stands for itself, and it's a big game on a huge stage, but it's one game, and I think there were probably ways that if the Chiefs had a better game plan and Patrick was looking like Patrick, that they could have neutralized some of that, and the Chiefs defense could have helped them out somewhat by playing much better and keeping it a lower scoring game. It could have been. I mean, it wasn't like they play that game again. Yeah, the Eagles probably win, but they don't win like that. I don't think if Kansas City has got a better approach to it. Mahomes plays well. I still think that you get more done. You can define your franchise more with a Patrick Mahomes than having a great pass rush. But it's an interesting topic for sure.
Let me ask you something. I'm going to go to Nebraska basketball on the heels of a big one tomorrow with Maryland at home. Yeah. At what point, or did you think you would get there where you wouldn't have to talk about Creighton being Nebraska's best win and Nebraska could control their own destiny with who they're beating at what juncture in this basketball season?
Like right now, I'd say after the Nebraska went on the road and did what it did last week, and then I wanted to see, all right, now they're in this, and I felt the same way before the Washington game because I saw them, of course, win the 2 before that, and it's like, okay, well, now are they going to win the game that they should win, or that on paper they should win against Washington? And they answered that challenge, and they did it. And then, just continuing to be a doubter, I was like, all right, now they're coming home and they're playing a good team, and they might be a little bit tired coming off of a long road trip. Can they take care of business at home against a very good team? So I still wasn't sure at that point whether I thought this was a team that was going to be back in control of its own destiny. But what I saw on Sunday at PBA, yeah, I'm not going to question them at this point. I'm not going to say, all right, win another one. Like, I'm back to the place now where I feel good about them. And you can forgive and forget the 6-game skid. It's like, it's an up and down in a Big Ten season. And they had a real dip, but they've answered that with on track here, at least, to potentially have just as big of a jump after that. So, the Creighton game, I suppose, is still is it their best road win? I mean, or is it Oregon? I don't know, but it doesn't define their season at all. Like when you're talking about if Nebraska gets in on
that shift happened quick.
Yeah, right? It happened in the last 2 weeks. If Nebraska gets in on Selection Sunday and you're talking about why it happened, it's not going to be the first thing. Well, hey, they won at Creighton in December. No, that's or whenever that game was. That's just a piece in it. It's a key game, but it's not defining their success.
The second, what I would call thoughtful person this week, that basically is saying we need to free ourselves of Nebraska basketball fans, or even in the media, because you didn't really specify, but I assume it's all inclusive of past failures, past successes. Stay right here with this basketball team. Sam said something the other day that I thought was really interesting that I wonder if we're capable of doing. He's like, hey, this is a good basketball team. Don't worry about what's happened last year or the year before, not winning an NCAA. Don't carry that burden. Like, just let this team be this team.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think those diehard Nebraska are they capable of doing that?
No. Within the team, yes. The team, it's always overplayed.
For Miles, that famous line, he tried it, right? Like, don't put that pressure.
Yeah, it's all it, and it is. It's easier within the team. Like they don't care. They don't have to care. They don't live with that. They don't have the memories. The history doesn't matter so much for the players on the roster or the coaches. Even though Fred is aware of it because he was near to where all of that happened, all of that history, all of those years without with getting to the tournament and not winning. When yeah, it's a bigger deal for him, I think, than it is. It shouldn't matter at all to the team, but for the fans, no, you can say that. I think you can say it's a nice thought. Hey, just put that out. It doesn't enter into the equation. It shouldn't matter, but it does. It does for the fans. Like when you've got that kind of history and have just always lived in this place where if something could go wrong, at the wrong time, it does. I mean, like last year, when it looked like Nebraska was positioned to get to the mountaintop, which for Nebraska is winning a tournament game, and it went all wrong when that game against Texas A&M started. It's still there, and it can always come rushing back. I think they have to clear the hurdle for the fans to get past it. They actually physically have to get over it. For the team, not so much.
It's fascinating because a lot of the same narrative surrounded football, the getting over the hump, and that was the past, to stay in the moment. And I think the programs and some of the fan base overlaps, a lot of the fan base overlaps. Is the process of letting go of that similar or different respective to the sport?
Yeah, it's like the opposite with football.
It seems like it.
With football, the clinging to the past is something that can lift Nebraska up, but in reality, it can be a burden on the whatever. There's a lot going on there. I think it's I think it's kind of all wrapped up in one conversation. Like, do you let the past affect what's going on in the present? And for the team, I really don't think it matters. Like in the short term, like what's been going on with Nebraska football. If you're talking about like the long term, like, hey, the Nebraska football program has to live with the fact that a generation ago, this was a team that if they won 11 games, it was a disappointment. Like that, I don't think affects the team very much. It still lives with the fan base. If you're talking about like the more short term, in that like Nebraska can't get over the hump and win close games, or Nebraska can't get over the hump and get to a 6th win until this year. Yeah, I think that's all very present in the locker room, and I think because the players have been a part of experiencing it. It's not the case. Not the case with Nebraska basketball. The players in there have not been a part of experiencing like Nebraska tripping over itself in all of the big moments. They've had this team and the players who were in that locker room, even the ones who've been around for 3 years, like Gary and Williams, like they've had a lot of success. They've won a lot of Big Ten games. They've won big games. The only thing they haven't done is win in March, and they're 0-1. So it's it's not like oh man, we can't get this done. They've had one attempt at it, and I'm sure they're itching to get back and give it a second try. And if they do, I think they'll be better prepared to tackle that challenge. And anything that happened in the 90s or the 2000s doesn't matter at all to them in that moment.
We're talking to Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Mitch, getting a little bit more specific about the games on tap here. How much time do you think Nebraska can weather a Berke Buchtengel absence? Like, how long can that last and have them be okay?
Or do you feel like we're making this a thing?
Yeah, are we making too much of it? That's also on the table.
I think it's probably a thing, and it's a thing on Thursday night because of the opponent and the players who were there in the front court for Maryland. It's going to be more difficult. It's a bigger challenge. They can deal with it, and Nebraska's shown that its strength, maybe the strength of its whole team, is being able to defend players in the post, and they look what they did against Ryan Kalkbrenner. So. I don't know that was all Berke. They have bodies, they have size that can go in there and they'll be able to match up against Maryland. Maybe not as much in terms of like skill in the post, but that's okay. And I think for a couple of games, they can find their way through that. And the schedule, it's never easy in the Big Ten, but I think they've made it through the teeth of their schedule. I think you give them unless all of a sudden they go on a losing streak, you're going to be cautious. And like when they get him back, you want to make sure you've got him back for the long haul. And his ankles are tricky, and you bring somebody back like one day too early, and the next thing you know, they're on the shelf for the rest of the season because they hurt it worse. So I think that they've built themselves a little bit of a cushion, not a huge one, but a little bit of a cushion, and they have the pieces on the roster to absorb this. That it's not as big of a deal, obviously, if they lost one of the big two. But after those two, like if you can't lose Williams, you can't lose Gary. And after those two, yeah, he's Sam Hoiberg, I wouldn't want to lose him. He's just got so much intangible, but Burke's right, like he's close to the top among that next group.
Let me so Mitch, I think there's only one team Nebraska could maybe catch that's ahead of them, and that would be Maryland, even though Maryland still has they would have split the series, but Maryland's at 8-5, Illinois is at 9-6. I want to go to what's behind Nebraska. If you want them to finish 8 and above, it's Ohio State, it's USC, it's Oregon. Maybe Indiana has a pulse after what they were able to do in East Lansing. If you're Nebraska, is it more who's in the rear or more who you can go get that's ahead that you think will ultimately matter at the end of this Big Ten season?
Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at the standings, and there's a big gap. You got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I just don't think there's much room to grow. But
probably not.
You can get down in a hurry.
Right. Nebraska's at the top of a big pile up of 5 and 6 win teams in the league. And if you just have a little bit of a skid, it doesn't have to be like what happened in January, then you can all of a sudden find yourself at the bottom of that group. So, and it's much more difficult at this stage, as you mentioned, to be able to move up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 7 teams ahead of them. Yeah, the close, like the most realistic best case scenario, it's not obviously mathematically you could do better, but I think the most realistic best case scenario is to kind of finish about where they are right now. I mean, 11-9, 10-10, something like that is going to be pretty good. And I think it's going to put you in a good spot. Like it doesn't so much, this isn't like last year where did Nebraska finish 3rd last year in the league?
But they don't have this year. They don't have the road woes, right? They have the second most. They have the second most, tied for the second most road wins in the conference.
Right. They're not all 7th place finishes or 8th place finishes are created equal. Remember, there's 4 more teams in the league this year for one thing, and then the league's deeper this year for sure. So. Even without the 4 additional teams, it's just like the top 14 are deeper this year than a year ago. So Nebraska will be in a good place for its tournament hopes if it gets to that 10 win, certainly 11 win mark in conference play.
That's Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Mitch, we appreciate the time as always. Great stuff. And
I didn't even get to your other masterpieces that you finished the last 10 days, Mitch, man. You've been on a heck of a run, man. It's pretty impressive.
Thanks.
It's pretty legit.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Text me because I'm not even sure. Are we talking about volleyball here or what's the?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks.
Very good.
That's fun.
I thought he was talking about your snow blowing work, but we'll see that. We'll see that on display later.
I'll let you guys know what it looks like. The snowblower inside the house it's not a big deal. Yeah.
We'll have to get a scouting.
And I think part of your dismissive delivery is what made it so funny. You just casually putting together, just getting that snowball ready inside.
You'll have to give us a scouting report on how it performs. We appreciate
the
time as always, Mitch. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Mitch.
Thanks, guys.
More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. It's time for Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook, the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets, whether it's at the casino in Lincoln or in Omaha. Make sure you get to warhorsecasino.com to find all their promotions and a full list of house rules as well. DB.
Yes.
I wanted to get into something that. What's up?
2-0 yesterday. Thank you.
2-0. Good job.
Thank you.
Well done.
Appreciate that.
Well, I smell bad.
Although Michigan made it hard.
They got a little dicey there.
How about their resiliency, though?
I mean, I think Michigan's pretty good.
Purdue pushed that thing to like 10 or 11 at the 5-6 minute mark, and I was like, oh, they sold. And then they made a run. The quad box was not my favorite.
Wasn't great yesterday.
Yeah.
Which it was supposed to be a pretty decent slate of games. So I was watching Kentucky, Tennessee, and
so they just must have their number.
Yeah. And
because that's their place and at Rupp.
And I was watching Florida, Mississippi State, which wasn't great.
Miami actually won.
That's a shot. What is that, 5 wins on the year?
Yeah, but guess what I'm not going to say?
They're back.
Because guess who plays Syracuse next?
North Carolina.
Yes. Although I'm not going to kid you.
Yeah.
A loss to Syracuse would put the proverbial nail in the coffin.
So you're not exactly rooting against it.
But I'm always going to cheer for a win.
No, I get that.
It's hard. It's very
But like
hard.
big picture, you're not going to be brokenhearted if they lose. Like in the moment, you'll cheer for a win.
So there was a season, was it 2 or 3 years ago, where the Steelers needed to win like 5 out of 6 or 4 in a row to get
Above
over
500 again.
And I was like, I can't believe I'm going to cheer for this. They're not going to the playoffs. But
it hurts your draft pick.
But I'm going to cheer for this.
It's like rooting against your own self-interest.
Yes. It's very hard.
You know,
one of the lowly things that I have to go through with the teams that I cheer for.
I'll be honest, I went through this with Nebraska a few years ago at the end of the Frost era. Like I got to the point where I genuinely believed he was not going to be able to turn it around. And so at that point you go, I need you to not win just enough to stick around. Like if I don't think you can fix it, I need you to go. And it got to the point where that got really uncomfortable because on a Saturday, you don't want to sit there. Like I remember watching that Georgia Southern game, his last game, and I'm like, okay, this probably does it if they lose this game, but I don't want them to lose this game, right? Like that's a very uncomfortable spot to be in. So I do understand what you mean. It's easy for me as a casual North Carolina observer to be like, yeah, just lose the games, get rid of Hubie, we'll be done here, right? But as somebody that is more invested, I get that you don't ever want to see your team lose.
And it's never good when a coach comes out like halfway through the season and he says, hey, I'm going to hire more staff. I'm going to get a general manager. I'm going to diversify. I'm like, yeah, that might be what you want to do. I don't know if that's what they're going to let you do.
Yeah, and you're a little late in the game for that. Like we're pretty deep into this thing, in this process to be at that point. But I do think, you know, I know the name. I know Dusty May, we were talking about Michigan, has come up as a name for that job. He's come up as a name for Indiana as well.
Really good coach.
He's a really good coach. I like him more than like a Wes Miller, which has been floated for North Carolina as well. I would take.
So why do you think May would leave Michigan?
I don't know that he would. Not for Indiana, maybe for North Carolina. North Carolina is a different beast.
Yeah, it's top 5 job in the country.
Yes, 100%. It's like North Carolina, Kansas, Duke, Kentucky.
That might be about it.
Like that's kind of the upper tier of jobs in the country. Now I know Indiana wants to think of itself in that situation, and it's not. And even Kentucky, I do think is generally one of those jobs. Had a hard time finding a coach last year.
So they're
like Mark Pope was not top 5 on their list.
I don't know if there's another team in the country other than, and I'm going to say this, Nebraska, with good quality opponents that they've beaten.
Yeah.
That have equally as bad losses as Kentucky.
Sure. Because they've got 5 AP top 10 wins.
I mean, that is incredible. And that's not – Nebraska's not in that neighborhood.
No.
So hear my heart.
No. I get what you mean, though.
You know, it's like
the disparity between good wins and bad losses
is
enormous. Like there is a huge gap there. We're going to bring up Kentucky's losses here real quick if I can.
There's some bad ones. Hot danger. I just read this. I think, and I don't want Nebraska football fans to be upset because there is some overlap here.
I mean, so
there is some overlap.
Sure. Yeah. Sorry, I was talking about Kentucky. Go ahead.
Yeah, the losses aren't as bad as you think.
Yeah, they're not as bad as.
No, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. It's their consistency.
Yes.
That I think that drives people crazy.
For sure.
He says, you know, don't speak for me, Mitch. Like I'm optimistic. That's why we show up every day. And I do think there's something to be said for.
But he acknowledges there's some fatalists around.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because it's more historical than the ability to stay in the moment. Because I think, and I'm going to say this because I'm going by numbers.
Okay.
I think you could make the case from a loyalty standpoint.
Okay.
Because there's a lot less outward complaining about this sport relative to their fan base than football, which is the separator for me.
Sure.
I think volleyball's 1. You could make the case that Nebraska basketball
is 2 for loyalty. I can see that.
And then it's a dogfight between baseball and football. And I get there's overlap. And maybe it's just because we hear more of the I'm not coming. And I don't hear the what am I getting for my money and going to the games.
Nebraska
as much if at all.
Nebraska basketball fans are much less swayed by the results in terms of. Yeah. But I will say this, and just
does that make sense?
It does. I will say, just for a larger context, I do think we need to consider the financial commitment to football when we're talking about loyalty from fans, because it is greater.
No,
So I just
I'm
wanna-
not getting into the methodology.
No,
I'm
I just want to
getting
bake
into
that
the
in a
outward
little
appearance.
bit. Yeah, outwardly, like on the surface, I would agree with you.
I understand the method. I know the what.
Yeah, I would agree that on the surface, Nebraska basketball fans appear more loyal. But I also think
It's much cheaper to be a Nebraska. You want to say it's much cheaper to be a Nebraska basketball fan?
It is.
Yeah, no, I
it is.
understand.
You know,
I get it.
and so it's easy. I think, me personally, I don't know if everybody feels this way, but me personally, if I'm paying a lot less, then my expectations adjust accordingly.
Yeah.
You know, like if I'm paying $10 for lunch or $50 for lunch, my expectations adjust accordingly.
Now,
right?
I mean, he has been on a roll the last handful of weeks, but I do disagree with this. In the current state of conference, TV deals, all the top basketball jobs are in the SEC and the Big Ten. I 100% disagree.
No.
I 100% disagree. Duke and North Carolina are
Duke, North Carolina, and
Kansas are top 3 of the top 4 jobs
100%
in the country. So
100%.
They can pay whatever they want to.
They can pay whatever they want, and you've got the history. You can get whatever players you want there. Like, I disagree.
Yeah, it's not even.
I think 3 of the top 4 jobs in the country are in the ACC and Big 12, respectively. Like, I don't even think there's a question about that. Yeah. You could argue. I would argue that Kansas might be the best job in the country. Like, if you really made me pick, I don't think there's a ton of separators. Kentucky got kind of knocked down the list for me because of the struggle they had getting a guy they wanted.
You think they are you insinuating they settled for Pope?
Not because they struck out on guys they actually wanted. Like, we heard a lot of names that they actually reached out to and they didn't get them.
Yeah.
And so I do think they're probably 4th for me. I think Kansas might be the best job in the country.
Boy, I don't know.
So
let me tell you where I would give you a smidge of pushback.
Okay. I'm open to it.
If Duke wins outside of Coach K.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
It's not a Coach K school.
Yeah.
It's a Duke thing.
Totally fair. Now, North Carolina already proved that because they have Dean Smith and Roy Williams.
I still would probably put Kansas 3rd.
After Duke and North Carolina?
But I would not probably fight over North Carolina and Kansas.
I think the gaps are very small with those 3.
And I understand the disparity in terms of admissions at Duke, but it's been a non-starter.
Yeah.
Duke's gotten in who they've wanted to get in.
Whoever they needed to. I will say, I do think, I don't know, like the Kansas thing is really more of a gut thing than anything else. Like, it's really not I don't have a good reason. It's just when I think about it, that job feels, and maybe it's because Duke and North Carolina both did the internal hire thing.
Yeah.
So they didn't have to go out and get somebody. The data points for Kentucky are there to be like, oh, they couldn't get who they wanted. So that dropped them to 4 for me. Do have just about a minute left here. Do you have any plays you like tonight?
There's a couple.
Okay.
One you're really not going to like, but I love it.
What do we have?
So one's in the SEC, and I've got one in the vaunted Big East.
Okay, what do we got?
I think Villanova beat St. John.
Ooh, interesting.
And they're getting points.
Villanova is plus 2.5 at home at Finneran at the Pavilion.
Yep, I like Villanova tonight.
Okay.
And the other one is, and this is more of a fade than it's too many points in the SEC.
Missouri?
No.
Okay.
I looked at that.
Okay.
I like LSU.
Yeah, that's 9. Both of them are 9.5. Yeah.
I like LSU because Arkansas still has some.
They're inconsistent.
Very much so. And I think that's too much for a team that plays as hard as LSU.
That's fair. Those are your picks on Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook. That's DB. I'm Ravi. A little more Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Radio. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. I know, just a couple days away from Valentine's Day. Hopefully, you've got some love in your life to celebrate, but maybe you don't love your current financial situation. It might actually be time to be thinking about a breakup and see what other options you got out there. Some of those options, including Centris Federal Credit Union, might be the right match for you. It's a local credit union focused on people, helping people, and they've got you covered no matter what your needs are, whether it's just checking and savings, auto loans, mortgages, debt consolidation, whatever it is, they've got you covered, and they've got experts to help you navigate your financial future. Go to centrisfcu.org to find out more and to chat with experts, federally insured by NCUA. DB.
Yes, sir.
I want to return to this question that I asked Mitch, because I pretty vehemently disagree with his answer.
Well, that's
about the four-man front.
That's because you've seen it work.
Like, yeah, so it's the one thing, because normally I agree with him, right? Mm-hmm. Hall of Fame quarterback sort of trumps almost everything. Like, if you've got that guy, it's the reason we sat there. It's the reason we sat there and said, I mean, I think the Eagles are better, but Mahomes and Reed, I'm going to take them, right? That's the whole reason. But what's the only thing we've seen on any kind of consistent basis beat the Hall of Fame quarterback?
Front fours.
Pressure with four.
Yeah.
Right? If you get consistent, because I almost asked it this way, I almost asked him if there was a bigger advantage in all of sports than a front four that gets consistent pressure without bringing any help. Not just football.
The only thing I could think of was elite level 3-point shooting.
So here's the only thing I was going to think of, and this is way outside my wheelhouse. But if you've got a goalie on a heater.
Yeah, I could see that. I've seen many
Stanley Cup runs.
Runs
that's just a guy got on a heater, right? Yeah. Like Ryan Miller, just you couldn't get past him for 2 months.
Kings had no business winning a Stanley
Cup. But
Quick got
right
as an older guy.
Yeah, right. Like, so that's the only thing I could think of.
When I dubbed him the Quick and the Dead.
You know, because they have such an outsized influence on the game, right? A goalie on a heater, it doesn't matter almost anything else that's happening.
Need a little help in front of them,
sure,
but
not a lot.
Always,
not a lot, right? So that is probably the closest thing. If you get on a heater, 3-point shooting, you're right. It kind of negates everything else, right? But
that's the only thing I could think of where you may just throw your hands up in the air.
Because I almost went all of sports with Mitch. Instead, I was like, oh, we'll pare it down to football.
Well, there's numerous examples.
Yeah,
we saw Tampa Bay's front twice.
Yeah,
they whipped the Raiders. They did it to the Chiefs.
Against a great offense.
They did it to the Chiefs.
Against another great offense.
We saw the Rams front four.
And the most famous one was Giants.
We saw the Giants do it to the GOAT, and he is a
twice.
Hall of Famer. We've seen 2 Hall of Fame cornerbacks get
not just Hall of Fame, the top 2 basically.
Yeah.
I mean, like if we're projecting at all with Mahomes.
So, and you've already put Mahomes ahead of Montana.
I mean, I just think the way he plays the position is more impressive.
I did want to say, what he said to Mitch. Like, I'm kind of over the tiers, but I get it. It's what we do.
Yeah. But I'm saying at worst, you're talking about 2 of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks of all time.
And we saw.
And it's happened to each of them twice.
Montana got his head beat in by a front four.
Yeah. Like, that's the only thing we've seen.
And I think that was in the first or second round of the playoffs.
Right? Like, that's the only thing we've seen neutralize or completely negate a Hall of Fame quarterback is a front four that can consistently bring pressure.
I'm with you.
Like, I think like that might be the biggest cheat code in all sports.
And there's pretty good data.
And I get it's easier said than done, right?
Pretty good data.
But I sit here and I go, I was talking about the draft this year, and I don't know if it's a good draft. It doesn't seem like it is.
And I would also say, and I get it, there's some outliers, but, Kerry Collins had a really good front. Rex Grossman had a really good front for Chicago.
Guys that weren't that good.
I mean, the Ravens did what they did, but it was against Kerry Collins.
Sure. So you don't get as much credit.
Seattle's defense with Hasselbeck. Like, we've seen it.
Yeah. It gives your – I mean –
It's not necessarily making an average quarterback elevated, but it does kind of downplay.
It gives you more
an
margin
HOF.
of error.
We've seen it with Brad Johnson.
Well, I mean, I've seen it twice at least with the 49ers. The front for the 49ers when Kaepernick made the Super Bowl was elite with Justin and Alden Smith.
Are we going to act like you can't play the Tampa 2 without an elite front four?
Right.
It's what you need.
You know, and let's not. And then Jimmy Garoppolo made a Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo is closer to Rex Grossman than he is.
They did gotta with that defensive line.
Yes.
Yeah. They gotta. Yeah.
That's the thing people kind of forget about the 49ers team. So I've seen it up close and personal twice in the last 12 years, basically, with the team that I root for, where you've got incredibly average quarterback play. Like Kaepernick had his moments, but he wasn't a great quarterback.
Well, okay. So humor me for a second.
Let's hear it.
Would you take a better O-line or a better D-line?
So that's the thing that I actually thought I might get pushback on.
As O-line?
Yeah, because
Okay.
That's the one that I actually am thinking about more than a Hall of Fame quarterback.
And more than shooting the 3.
Shooting the 3 and a great O-line are probably even for me. But I put a D-line over shooting the 3. Like a front 4 that gets me consistent pressure.
Well, then you'll take a D-line over an O-line.
I think so, but it's like I think it's close.
Because it looks more disruptive?
It does, yeah. Because here's the thing with a great O-line is you still need other people to be pretty good.
Mm.
Like you need a functional quarterback at the very least, or a good running back to take, or at least a capable running back to take advantage of what you're creating. A great defensive line by itself, like, yeah, your corners have to not fall down, but if you're getting to Mahomes as fast or you're getting to Brady as fast as that Giants defensive line was getting to Brady, your corners don't even have to be above average. They just have to not fall down for 3 seconds.
Mm.
That's basically it, right? Like they need the least amount of other things to go right to impact a game. That's why I put a goalie there. Like a goalie needs the least amount of other things right if they're on a heater to dominate a game. A front 4 defensive line that can, and that's the other thing is if you've got 8 or 7 guys in coverage.
I kind of like the goalie standing on his head thing more than elite level 3-point shooting. And I kind of like an offensive line more than elite level 3-point shooting.
But are you taking a defensive line or the offensive line?
I still think I like D-line.
It's so disruptive. Like you can't do anything.
When the Eagles started putting the puzzle together this year to actually put a team together to beat the Chiefs like they wanted to, was the 4 corner pieces the D-line? I mean, Is that where they started?
I don't know. I listened to Howie Roseman the last day and a half do multiple interviews.
Mm-hmm.
It was very strategic.
Sure. And they've let some good guys go.
And the funny thing is they did it at the same time as building a really good offensive line.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have to be willing to say, I'm drafting a guy like Cam Jurgens as an heir apparent, even though my Super Bowl caliber Hall of Fame center still has a year to go.
You spent
you got to sit on that.
You spent second round draft capital on a backup center.
Yep.
Like you have to be willing to make those choices because they're not sexy choices. Drafting Cam Jurgens in the second round is not a sexy choice. It's not.
No, I get it.
Like a second round center, a second round backup center is not something that's going to get the fan base.
You can sprinkle him in at guard while he's biding time, and I'm like, still a second rounder.
I mean,
I would be mad over Jackson Dart at 21 as a quarterback, let alone a swing interior lineman in the second.
I'm going to give you 2 names of guys that the Eagles have let go since their last Super Bowl appearance on that D-line.
There's some good ones.
Hassan Reddick
Yep.
and Javon Hargrave. Yep. I was thrilled when the 49ers got Hargrave. Yep. Good addition, good pickup.
Yep.
The Eagles let those 2 guys go, and they still go about 6 deep on that defensive line.
I know one thing.
You don't do that without really strategic planning.
They look like geniuses over Reddick.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Hargrave's been good for the 49ers.
They look
like geniuses over Reddick.
Yeah.
And Hargrave was just going to cost him too much, right? Like I understand that decision. But they let those 2 guys go. You're talking about all pro guys, right? Both those guys all pro level.
Mm-hmm.
When they were at the Eagles at least, right? You let those 2 guys go, and 2 years later, you're still going 6 deep on the defensive line. That's crazy work. I mean, that is, to Shane's point, that doesn't happen on accident.
This may be too. I feel like this is the Hoiberg 4 additional minutes thing where I missed the big picture.
For a little minutia?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do think it's easier along the D line to find a sixth and a fifth and a sixth and sometimes a seventh guy for depth.
Okay.
Than it is to just simply find. Why is it so hard to get a good sixth offensive lineman?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It's like one offensive lineman gets hurt on a team and say, "Oh my gosh!" But along the D line, it's like
next man up.
These guys go 6 deep, 7 deep.
That's an interesting question.
No big deal.
Because if we
value it so much,
why does it seem easier?
Yeah.
No, that's a really good question. Because I don't know. My initial thought would be the skill sets are a little more plentiful.
I mean, the Chiefs can't get one tackle to play well, and it
decimated their season.
Yeah.
It ruined their season because they didn't have one guy that could play tackle. And so my initial thought is that there's just more guys that are 6'4", 260 that move well than there are guys that are.
So if that's the case, then why do we value it so much as a game changer?
Because it is. Like it is a game changer. I think the question is, why don't teams value it more while building a roster? That to me is the question. Because we do value offensive line, and so if you have a good sixth offensive lineman, they're going to get paid to be somebody else's top 5, right? We don't really see that translation in the same way, and maybe part of it's just rotations. You don't rotate on the offensive line the same way you do on the defensive line. So if you're a sixth or defensive lineman, you actually get a play.
Yeah.
If you're a sixth or seventh offensive lineman, you're probably not getting many snaps. So maybe it's just as simple as the rotations. I don't know. That's an interesting question, though. You're making me noodle a little bit here.
It's like one offensive lineman gets hurt, and it's like, oh, shoot, here we go.
But we didn't even know if Brandon Graham was going to play, and nobody cared.
Yeah. I mean,
really.
Took Davis 6 games to settle in as a rookie.
That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. More Hurrdat Sports Radio tomorrow.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.